Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer myself at the lotus feet of our most revered founder chancellor, Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Dearest Swami, esteemed elders, and dear sisters, warm greetings and loving Sai Ram to one and all. It is with immense happiness I welcome you all on behalf of the Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences to the second session of the Day1 National Symposium, a holistic approach to sustainable food systems, integrating agriculture, nutrition, and food safety. Without further delay, let us begin with a platter of events for this session. I deem it my privilege to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Shyam Mohan. Mr. Shyam Mohan is a highly successful serial entrepreneur currently in his third cycle of startups. Sir holds a postgraduate diploma with a gold medal in hotel management from Oberoi School of Hotel Management, India's premier institute for hospitality and food service. He is also a graduate of the Advanced Management program from the Harvard Business School. Sir has 32 years of valuable experience in various leadership roles in the agriculture, food production, property management, and hospitality industry. In his initial years, Sir was involved with hotel management at the Oberoi Hotels. Then he was the CEO infrastructure of SR Groups. Later, Sir held the positions of President and Managing Director of Griffith Foods. He is now the founder and CEO of Day1 Network, an agribusiness technology company. This company was created with a shared value principle of making a positive difference in the lives of smallholder farmer communities that his company touches. The focus is to create cutting-edge ingredients and products sourced from smallholder farms using the best-in-class and globally recognized progressive agricultural farming and processing practices to meet the expectations of consumer in the future. The main areas of interest where the company will concentrate include projects in food security, water security, and cutting-edge sustainable technology, both products and services. The impact achieved will include reducing the carbon footprint and achieving maximum increase of ESG ratings as well. His goal is to create a global enterprise with a big heart whose first target is to live a higher purpose and make the difference that matters. Sir would be addressing us on the topic Sustainable Food Processing Product, Industry Oriented. It is indeed an honor to have you with us, sir. I request you to kindly grace the dais.
So I've got the graveyard shift, as they call it. My job is to keep you awake. So thank you. Thank you to the entire university folks here to have invited me. It's always a pleasure for me to talk to Swami's students. And luckily, this is an area which is my strength from start to finish. I've spent all my life in food and beverage. So what I'd like to do is do it in a different kind of way. So I run a company called Day1 Network. So the whole focus is food is medicine, and then working backwards, where 80% of most of the raw materials we use will come from farms in the future. So I want to get a film played, if you can, and that will give you a perspective of the kind of stuff that I'm doing. And then I will align that to the focus of the topic and the symposium today. And then at the end of my session, I always like to have questions, because the purpose of me talking to you is to at least for you to walk away with practical ideas in this area of interest for me as well. So we will play it along the way and make sure that you also get the full benefit, okay? So can I request the lady to play the film, and I'll just get back and you can see. It's just a 7-8 minute film, so you can't sleep in it, not to worry.
Tier 1 Network, a shared value enterprise reinventing the future of food from farmer to consumer. It's one of the biggest ironies of our time that our food is killing us. Over the last 30 years, evidence suggests food fraud has been rising around the world. By 2020, chronic diseases will account for almost 75% of all deaths worldwide. We are eating more, but not necessarily better. Farmers are producing more, but not necessarily getting richer. especially smallholder farms in developing economies like India, Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. It's obvious the food industry supply chain is broken from farm to fork. Someone needs to fix it from farm to fork. Someone like Tier 1 Network.
At Day 1 Network, our focus is threefold. The farmer who grows our food, the processor who manufactures our food, and of course the consumer who consumes our food. Day 1 Network works with smallholder farmers to help them adopt best practices so that we can source crops, animal and veggie protein of the highest order. In processing, our aim is not just to produce ingredients that taste great, but also use the latest quality technologies like supercritical extraction. Once we do a good job of sourcing and making, we can confidently give our consumers food and food products that actually enhance their well-being.
To that end, Tier 1 Network comprises 4 key verticals: Tier 1 Grow, Tier 1 After, Tier 1 Vital, and Tier 1 Digital. Tier 1 Grow is the sourcing arm that works with smallholder farmers to buy, very specifically, spices, herbs, medicinal plants, proteins, and fibers. We help smallholder farmers adopt global best practices like Global Gap Alliance and Rainforest Alliance certification with complete digital traceability, including geotagging of produce and blockchain-based hashes from the farm gate to store shelves.
7 years ago, when I first introduced these concepts of sustainable sourcing at Griffith Foods for red chili growing in India, sage in Albania, and pepper in Vietnam, few had adopted these. But now, such practices have become essential to sell globally, and our aim is to give smallholder farmers access to global markets.
Tier 1 After focuses on value adding to crops by using clean methods to store, extract, process, and preserve. We use supercritical fluid extraction technology that works at low temperatures to preserve delicate natural flavors, aroma, volatiles, and temperature-sensitive active ingredients.
We are involved in high-value extraction of spices, herbs, and florals, including hemp, from which the compound cannabidol is extracted. There is a growing need around the world for chemical-free, clean label compounds. Again, our digital technology enables end-to-end traceability and total quality control of all our products.
Tier 1 Vital is the food as medicine arm of the network. In joint venture with its American partner, Tier 1 Vital creates healthy formulations that are integrated into existing food and drinks to enhance the nutrition, wellness, and recovery of consumers. These fortifiers and finished products improve the overall health of consumers due to the use of evidence-based, targeted functional nutritionals delivered through their food. So, there are 2 sets of target consumers. 1, that are healthy and have no ailments but want to remain that way, and 2, those who have developed lifestyle diseases but want to keep them under control to ensure healthy living.
The problem with the current approach to wellness is that food creates the ailments and medicine only cures the symptom. At Tier 1 partner company Miraculous Global, our objective is to do root cause analysis of the ailments and develop personalized food-based healing solutions. Our culinary medicine centers, for example, blend the science of genetics with culinary arts to give you food formulation designed to your specific health situation and genetic makeup.
Tier 1 Digital is an agri-tech company whose aim is to bring state-of-the-art solutions to 2 of the oldest human occupations, agriculture and animal husbandry. Tier 1 Digital software as a service model allows farmers, processors, retailers, and traders of all sizes to leverage technology to not only improve efficiency of their businesses, but more importantly, bring greater transparency throughout the food supply chain. As a result, the consumer can buy with greater knowledge and confidence.
Farming is difficult business, and it has been made tougher by a myriad of standards and compliances. Day1 Digital takes the pain out of farming. farmers and breeders should have to only focus on what they do best. We work with them deploying our solutions to make their lives easier and businesses more profitable.
At Tier 1 Network, our mission is to bring fairness, dignity, and innovation into the consumption cycle. That's why, as the world clamors for more animal protein, our approach is to find sustainable ways of providing it. Consider how we farm fish. To prevent overfishing of the seas and protect the fragile ecosystem, we've moved fish farming inland. Our recirculating aquaculture system grows fish in high-tech tanks with 24/7 monitoring of fish health, and the wastewater is treated before it's released back into the water source. The ecosystem is protected, and the consumer gets disease-free fish at all times.
The consumers of the world, they want to understand where the food they are eating is coming from, and they do not want to consume food that is harming the planet. Our RES systems are scalable and environmental friendly, and they are really addressing the problem with overfishing of our oceans.
The soul of Tier 1 Network isn't just about what we do, with all the verticals in the food space for our customers. It's actually about the how. The how matters. What does it mean? It means we're all about fairness, and we want to leave things better than how we found them. Even if that means upending systems that were established by the previous industrial order. Even if it means, ignoring previous processes and inventing new ones so we can do things the way we want to do them. Now, what does it mean in practical terms? One example could be we may never grow or source or process red meat because it's so damaging to the planet.
None of our goals is unachievable. In fact, the team that comprises Tier 1 Network has already demonstrated track record of achieving many aspects of our business model. The only difference is now they have even greater freedom to do the right thing by the farmer, by the industry, and the consumer. Truly a shared value enterprise. So if our vision excites you, if you want a multi-bagger investment to make a real difference to the world, then we would love to have you join us on our journey ahead as a partner. Thank you. So I apologize for the minor pitch there, because this was actually created for investor partners when we were trying to do it, but to give them an idea of what we are trying to do in it, I think it would have given you folks. And I also apologize about a lot of non-vegetarian stuff here, because I know this is a vegetarian campus, but that is life outside, and many of the farmers that we will work with, that's their normal food, right? So we can't profess as to what has to happen, but we will never touch red meat or its products because of the connection with colon cancer. So what I've really tried to do with my team is, I've been in this business now over 30, maybe 5 years now. And the whole idea is that I've learned so much in this business, because I started off in Oberoi Hotels, where I used to run restaurants and food and beverage operations where we served guests directly, including, hey, you tell us what you want, my chef will go to make it for you, at that level of excellence. And then coming down through the channel through food and banqueting operations and the like. Now, so that is good to know the consumer. So that's one way of reaching the consumer in the food business, which is all about food service, right? You have restaurants, you have quick service restaurants, you have kaka kadais and the stuff on the streets, all the way up you go into 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, fast casual and so on. It's a lot more demarcated in the Western world, but in India it's all catching up. The second thing is getting to food to the folks and consumers is through retail. And retail, again, in the last 15, 20 years, now with e-commerce even better, you are getting fresh food and other stuff, which is ready to eat, ready to cook, delivered at home. So these are 2 access points. And we are in the food processing space, right? So that was where our experience is. So our goal is, how do you make certain changes, keeping in mind the influencers, and make sure that the consumer gets the food that they deserve. And why is it different is, if you look at our generation, okay, and you're the next generation, what will you guys be eating and drinking, and your friends and your, same generation folks 5 years from now, food and beverage, eating and drinking. And you will see that 80% of the kind of food that you will eat which is focused a lot on health, but definitely taste, will come from farms. Our goal in Tier 1 network is to make sure that 50% comes from small farmers. Okay, so this is the paradigm. The second paradigm is that India is a net exporter of commodities. We export cereals, we export veggies and fruits and so on. But nobody really sits down and asks the question, what happens once it lands in the place we send it? So somebody's going to, where it goes, it has to go in the cold chain. So either it's frozen, especially when you're talking about meats and shrimp export from Andhra and so on, or you're going to do chill for fruit and veg, horticulture produce. Now, somebody is going to buy it. Either they will send it through the wholesale market, or then they process it again. So once they process it, so they thaw it, process it, freeze it again, and put it through retail or food service. So our goal is, if I'm able to understand what the consumer at the end country, a Japanese or a Korean or a German or an Austrian likes to eat, I would like to do that processing in India. There'll be an issue of us trying to get ingredients from those countries. These are kinds of foods that you and I will never eat. But if you just take rice or wheat or corn or peanuts, we can actually, because we use chefs and food scientists, so we call something as the innovation arrow. This is in the product development realm. In the innovation arrow, the arrowhead is culinary. The backbone is food science. And the reason you combine this is you can't ask a scientist to make tasty food all the time. At the same time, you can't ask a chef to make standardized food, where each time he's going to do his own magic. And the problem in the food business is people are coming and buying that food in your restaurant or wherever they go because they liked it the last time. So they don't want you to get creative on them, right? So for scale, it's okay if you call them to my own home, my own restaurant, and that's it, I make 5, 10 people I can feed every day. That's different. But now we're talking about scale, about business, because we are now saying, if we are working with farmer groups, my job and our company's job, or all of us in the food business job, is to ensure the farmer that all his hard work is going to be well worth it. He's going to sell it at a higher price. And the current, like I said, the supply chain is broken because unfortunately, if you look at the food industry, it's not sustainable this way. And that's why I'm bringing the business angle to it, because one of my called out initiatives is to make more entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, preferably female. Okay, women entrepreneurs is a focus area because my mom was one. But I also I want you guys, instead of looking only for jobs, some of you have the aptitude, look to do your own business, because you can take your maximum risk and be creative at this age. Because otherwise you're going to have other challenges, and then you have to wait till you become old like me, when the family is all grown up and I can jump back in. But I've always worked as an intrapreneur, so I'm lucky because I've always worked with family-owned businesses. Because I could never work in a structured environment because I'm a freak. I think differently. I confuse people. I ask a lot of questions. And in a structured environment, everybody is worried about next quarter. I am worried about next quarter century. That's a big problem, right? But at the same time, I have to survive for the third quarter. So then how do you build a sustainable model which can also be, but work backwards as opposed to forwards? You work long term and then say, okay, what do I need to survive 3 quarters from now? And do the kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm just trying to give you, so in a different angle, I'm making you start thinking, okay? Because the goal is I want to have questions at the end, because hopefully this thinking has provoked your own thought process and you'll have a lot of doubts. And if you don't have questions, no pressure, okay? But the point is that you need to do stuff differently, because farming what brought us here is not going to get us there. So we have to do value addition in India. We want to make India the food factory for the world. So we don't need all the other schemes and stuff, which is just being, if you talk to anybody who looks at food schemes, the right people don't get it. Somebody takes advantage of it, the folks who have scale or the folks who have influence or other mechanisms. But we want pure talent to work. For that, we have to create a new supply chain. But we cannot change India individually. But we can certainly give an example of how it can be done, and create a template where we all know that Indians are very good at copying, and we just pray and hope and spread the word that you copy, because then everybody benefits, all the boats lift, okay? And the other thing is, in terms of talent, food industry does not have the talent that it deserves, only because it's not, for lack of a better word, not a sought after career. If you ask any of the kids in our generation, they'll never, or nobody says, I want to join the food industry. Same thing in our generation. In our generation, it was even worse. You're a doctor, you're an engineer, or a loser, you know. I was loser. But I hired enough engineers in my life to make sure that we made up for it. But the point of the matter is, now India is different. We have the youth in our side, and we have a blessed country for farming, for growing. Just think about it. Yes, we have 33-35% post-harvest losses. We've grown as an economy, but we're not really importing food. Yes, of course, we may import some edible oil because there's a shortfall in the stuff, or maybe import, for example, but actual feeding of food for the folks, we don't really do. But the other problem is we're also growing the cereals, which is good. It gives you carbs, some amount of protein and stuff. But honestly, if you look at, and the time is now, because all of us know this move towards veggie protein, right? Everybody says, let's have veggie protein. And in the earlier days, when we were growing up, if you said you're a vegetarian, in the Western world, they don't understand that concept. They think you have some disease and you have to have a special diet, you know, which they don't know how to handle it. Whereas in India, if you're a vegetarian, I don't even need to think about non-vegetarian. I mean, we can blow your mind without you having to even crave for non-vegetarian, except for sometimes the texture, we can always not keep giving you jackfruit or something like that, right? In case you like that texture. But what I'm trying to say to you is we need to understand food. We need to understand the way people eat around the world. And I think it's not easy because not all of us travel. Yes, we learn more, there's YouTube, all of those things, and some of us are able to afford travel, but still it'll take a couple of generations till we're also global citizens, you know, jetting around all over the world. Now, how do we handle it now? Because I need to feed those guys. And those people are getting older. There's also an opportunity for functional foods because people are, I always joke, like, you know, it's like when you're a baby, you start eating gerber, whatever you call it, right? In those glass bottles, basically like a pureed veggies and stuff. And when you get old and one step, two steps before you croak, you get back to that because you're not able to handle it, right? So now we have to feed old and young. So we'll feed young in India and old outside, but we need to have functional food. We need to extend the life, improve quality of life, but we need to understand to make this sustainable, what does it take? So this whole idea about the name of this conference on holistic approach to sustainable food systems. One of the things I'm very happy about is while you say integrating nutrition, agriculture, I would also include, and food safety. I think that food safety is not something which people appreciate. There was a question when we had the presentation on, you know, the whole different types of crops and millets and everything else, and talking about, you know, organic, you know, and the pros and cons. See, one of the cons of organic, organic is very good for the earth, but it's not necessarily good for the human being. For one reason is food safety, nothing else. It's good, I mean, but then the thing is, if it's not productive, it's not a good thing to scale up because somebody's going to lose money. Somebody has to pay for it. So, and also the honesty in that whole exercise. So that's the reason why if you have technology and so on, you try to use blockchain. But I would only say this, that if you focus on export, it's a lot easier. The problem with most of us as entrepreneurs is we say we'll first succeed in India and then learn from that and go abroad. By the time you try to succeed in India, you're already half dead because it's not your normal, you know, situation. You don't have normal stuff happening here because there's so many things coming out of left field you have no control over. So why we are so intelligent, we are so smart, with half the brain power, we can win in the West. And then when India loves to copy the West, so let them copy the West. When they want what we are doing outside, you bring it back at that price. Because the other problem of the Indian consumer is, I want everything, but boss, I don't want to pay for it. Right? So then I say, okay. Suppose I say, okay, this is free for you. He's still not happy. He says, no, but I want discount. Right? I'm giving it to you free. So now if this is the mindset that we're trying to serve, we're not going to win. And we're also Indian. We also, if you say we go to a fancy store like Brooks Brothers or Arrow and we still ask for a discount, I'm buying 3 shirts, how much will you give me? Whereas in the Western world, that's not seen. I'm not saying don't negotiate because for all you know, the structure is such that the guys already raised the price, so you have to negotiate. But that's not, I would say that it's a more difficult way to do business. So here you have to use reverse psychology. Like till such time that you're able to show your product, right? And quality, there's no compromise. They say if you make good quality, you don't have to give excuses. So the quality has to be best in class in whatever you do. Otherwise, don't touch it, number one. Two is then you show the product to him. They will compare it against what they're used to. And then they will know the difference. But he's never going to tell you it's good. Because he's scared if he tells you it's good, he's going to charge me more. It's too expensive. I've not even told him the price. So we always do that. And then at that moment when the bells are ringing, saying that, hey, this is great quality product, don't give him a chance to react. Yes, thank him, give him your card. So nice to meet you, sir. This product is available in India. When you can afford it, give me a call and leave. Okay, this is dirty way. You're using your brain to do the total ulta, but this is the way it works. The minute you walk out of the door and you don't give that person a chance for the hunt, the next day you'll get the order. Because two things have happened in his mind. One, he says, what does he mean by insulting me and I can't afford it? Of course I can afford it. And more importantly, two, if I don't buy it, my competitor is going to buy this great quality product and I'm going to get affected negatively. So I might as well buy it. You get it? But see the waste of energy, brain power for this nonsensical stuff. So all I'm trying to say is do everything in India. I'm a proud Indian, but only try not to sell in India. Okay, if you can afford. If you don't have any option, please go and then be ready for it. And you'll always thank me for what I told you. So just use reverse psychology. Chances are you'll perform much better. But coming back to the whole sustainability piece, let me tell you where my journey on understanding sustainability happened. So what happened was, after I finished my life in Oberoi Hotels and food and beverages, I moved to a company called the SR Group. And in the SR Group, which was known those days for oil, power, steel, telecom, shipping, it was almost a $30 billion enterprise at that stage. I was handling the small companies. So basically, the property management group, the corporate aviation group, the travel group, and the agriculture. So in 1996 was when I took over the agriculture business. We had 1,500 acres of land, almost 20 hectares of greenhouses. So we were the earliest guys, for example, to bring in greenhouses from Israel, from a company called Netafim, and then we used drip irrigation. So we always worried about how do we stretch our resources to make sure that the quality of the product was right, but there was less wastage. And we were growing roses, and then I brought in exotic vegetables like sugar snap peas, snow peas, baby corn, baby carrot, which you and I, baby corn, baby carrot, some of you have seen it in pasta and some oriental veggies. But those days are not very common. So these are stuff that we wouldn't eat. But the common sense was, try to produce products to people who can afford it. At a price level of, let's say, $4,000 a ton and above, there is money in the game, where you ship every day fresh. So we were saying, you go to countries where it is winter, or turning to winter, and sell your products, you'll get the highest price. Why? Because they can't grow it locally. But after 6 months, you go to the other hemisphere, because it's winter there. And then you can go to Japan anytime because those guys don't have land. So they'll buy what you give them, right? So this is the simple business plan that we had made. But grow stuff which you and I don't have. I cannot take snow peas and make poriel and, with all that kind of stuff. I have to eat it either as a salad, which I don't like because they're called whole pot peas, but high in fiber, high in protein. So knowledge and what you folks are learning is critical. The issue is how do you convert that nutritional knowledge into day-to-day food and how you live that life and make other people's lives better, right? So then what we did was we created a brand called Indus Fresh. And that's when I learned so much about food safety. So while we knew about food safety and the whole HACCP and now today BRC level in hotels, that's more on final processing. But in the food safety in the entire value chain comes right from the farm, right? And this is where the organic thing we will talk about the challenges on food safety. So we then decided, and then you have something called Rainforest Alliance certification. So, and Global GAP, those days it was called Europe GAP. So GAP stands for Good Agricultural Practice. So there was, you must have heard of Tesco's and Sainsbury and, Carrefour and some of these European chains, and actually British were the ones, the British Retail Consortium. So Sainsbury's, Marks and Spencer and the like, they used to insist that the food safety and quality of the product should be of a certain standard, and that was called British Retail Standard, BRC. And even today, I would say apart from FSSC, this would be the highest food standard to have in a processing plant. So if you were to have BRC standards, it's guaranteed that you can go into any European, and Europe is the toughest, when it comes to getting fresh products in, apart from Australia, New Zealand, because of the quarantine challenges. I would say that if you have BRC standard, let's say AA and AAA, you're set. Then the next level is, which we started doing later, which I can talk to you, is Rainforest Alliance. We'll talk about that. So now the way was, how will they know who the hell I am? Like, because along with me, Indian guys selling stuff, there were like 20 other traders who were, cheating them blind. So now he doesn't know the difference between who's right and who's wrong. So you have to start trying to win their confidence based on what your product quality was. So you have to go with the standards they recognize. And Indians would never invest in those kind of, because I had to invest a lot of money to get BRC certification, right? Because I have to have a certain process which is as per what they would do. So BRC then started something called GAP, Good Agricultural Practice. They called it Europe GAP. And the headquarters of that company was in Cologne, which is now called Global GAP. That was focused on food safety and agricultural practices. So we were the first company in India to take Europe GAP certification, and that was my success for us, because then we kind of made sure that, hey, what you guys do, I can do. Now tell me what you want to buy, and tell me when you don't get it, so I'll grow it. And then when we farm, or I then contract it out, I can guarantee the farmer a way better price. I don't need any of the clowns in the system to get involved because we can handle it. And then I sell it directly. I take it, pack it, sell it. And then we have something called a high care facility, which was BRC standard, okay? So we created a brand called Indus Fresh. And we became a very big brand in our space in Europe, including UK, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. And I packed in the roses also in that brand, okay? So we really were very successful. And then I realized we were losing out to Africans, because Africa has something called 12% EC duty waiver. I pay 12% more for the same product going in, whereas the African guy they're trying to help. And those days India was not so successful. So we also needed the help, but we never got it, because we never used to negotiate at this level. And anytime our guys went up, they slapped and sent back to us, unlike what it is today. We are the guys who are doing the slapping, which is a good situation, right? But those days we had to listen. So then, so we were losing out. So then I decided to take 5,000 acres in Africa and do the same stuff. And take my stuff from India and Africa and ship it straight in. The other big problem for me was, it cost me 30 to 40 rupees to grow 1 kilo. It cost me 120 rupees to air freight that 1 kilo, air freight. I had to sell it fresh. And it's got 5 days shelf life. No WhatsApp video. So that fellow tells me, boss, you send me 5 ton, 2 ton is spoiled. I say, Hari Om, thank you, pay me for the 3 ton. Because I cannot fly for 2 tons. Whereas now I can say, can you please show me? Right? Those days we didn't have all of this. So you build credibility, you build trust based on quality of product. Anyway, so we kind of built that brand. We wanted to do that. And then, I mean, unfortunately for SR, I got headhunted by a company called Griffith Laboratories. Now, Griffith Foods is a 100-year-old business, started in Chicago, and it was the meat packing capital of the US. So what used to happen is the 1919 was when it was opened. So the chairman was Dean Griffith, who actually handpicked me and hired me. He was 78 years old when he hired me. But the kind of energy the guy had, and he had what we call Midwestern values. He says, the customer asks me to jump, I'll ask him how high, that kind of stuff. My name's on the front door. Let's not spoil it. It's taken us a long time, but I can lose it in a heartbeat. So a lot of those value systems in business was possibly one of the reasons. So these folks brought in science to the food industry in the 90s. So the ETA treatment, which is now of course banned, which is ethylene oxide with, what do you call it? With pressure, which is normally like autoclave. That ETO treatment was patented by Griffith in the 60s to ensure that you maintain the shelf life, the food safety of the product. Right? Now, steam sterilization and other stuff, mainly for spices. So this company was essentially a B2B innovation company, helping food companies in the US in new product development and marketing based on consumer feedback. So we knew what the consumer wanted. We had the knowledge with our chefs, food scientists to create the product. Then we made the entire product, went to the food company and told them this is what we want. They choose certain things. So the biggest of the fast food chains in the world, 3 of them are our global customers. Of the snack processing, unfortunately, all the bad businesses that you're talking about, so the sour cream and onion, the nacho cheese, were flavors and concepts designed by our team, but then sold to the brand, and then we supplied the ingredient. So between the chicken and the oil, everything came from us. in a fried chicken company. Between the nugget chicken and this thing came from us. So like that. So then we did the big brands. But their ingredients, we had a challenge because we had spices and herbs always used. Now, I don't know how many of you know the benefits of using spices and herbs. For example, when you make sausages, one of the main ingredients is something called sage. So if you read cookbooks, it says sage and onion stuffing, or they may use oregano, basil, thyme, rosemary, marjoram, which are all Mediterranean herbs, right? They're used in the ingredients. And in India, we used to use turmeric and dhania and chili, and chili actually came even later, but pepper, all of them. Most of you would possibly know the reason we use this is because of the nutraceuticals which give antioxidant properties, right? So if you look at apna buno, so when you're making a dish for a curry, right? 1:2:3, turmeric is to chili is to dhania powder. Use that, whether you use onion or use curd or use khas paste or cashew or whatever else you want to make the gravy. The reason you do a buno, right, is anybody can tell me, why did you do buno? Or frying, basically stir frying in the oil. First you always say that, no, you put that and then take the raw smell out, right? But why was it done scientifically? Flavor, okay. That is the after effect, application. But main reason? See, if you go ahead. Flavors definitely, but there's something more. No. It is actually because the nutraceuticals, more often than not, are oil soluble. We had a great scientist, chemist presenting, right? There's two types. There's aqueous, water soluble or oil soluble. So oil soluble, you need buno. Because otherwise the goodness is remaining in the spice. So this is from the Ayurveda. See, if you look at the old thing, we never had chili actually. It was pepper. Chili came with the Portuguese and all these guys. But 4,000 years before that, we used only pepper as a spice. That was a commodity. People, when poor fellow get onto a ship to find where pepper is grown, right? When Vasco came here, right? So I'm just saying, so look at the value of what we did. The reason is that, now today we all talk this because for 4,000 years we've been doing it. Using bunoing to ensure the goodness of that food comes out. And remember one thing, all of you must be knowing the two nutraceuticals which are positive in pepper. One is bioperine and second is piperine, right? Now, piperine has a special bioavailability link, which basically what it does is it improves the bioavailability of all the cells in the body, in the digestive system, to absorb the goodness coming after more. That's why you see peppers always bang straight in the first part of our menu. What do you have in a South Indian meal? Pepper rasam. Why? Yes, for taste, all of that, but basically it bashes all your cells and say, boss, be ready, some more stuff is coming, and absorb all the stuff, goodness. So bioavailability, and it came as a part of a process. And now we have got so used to it. That's why rasam came first. Like that, there are enough and more stories of the Ayurvedic influence on food, and I'm sure it'll be an interesting topic for one of your girls to do a research, but there's a lot of connection. So you always got that, and why do you need that nutraceutical? Next question, right? The biggest enemy in the body, right? Today the enemy for human body, for health, when there's everything else is fine, is something called inflammation. Now, inflammation does not mean something is swelling. It also means that. But inflammation is something is out of order, not in balance. And one of the reasons for inflammation is the amount of free radicals going around. And the only way to lock that rascal down is with an antioxidant. So when the antioxidant goes in and locks the free radical, he doesn't have time to go and do damage in some other organ. So that's why it became very commonly used. So now let me go back to the sausage in the US and sage. Sage has a huge amount of antioxidants. That's their equivalent in the West for herbs. And that's why there's no dum in their food, It's just got some flavor, and they put one flavor, they call the name something else, put one more. In India, we'll have a problem. So we put 10 things and call it one, right? You start giving one, then there'll be a whole subject only going on. So that's why I always say the tastiest food comes from India. Why? Because of the balance. So we are in a rich country for thousands of years. We can grow 12 months in the year. So take an example. I always use this example because I go a lot abroad and trying to share the understanding. The only problem with us is we get too excited with heat. If you Andhra guys especially, I'm also from Andhra, and we really love it when somebody comes, itna pyar dena hai to dalo sala. We put more pepper. And then for us, we're okay because nose is watering and back of your head is sweating and all that. So, but you go and give that to a foreigner, the guy is already taking you off to the moon, you know. So if we just control that spice, and give us, in a restaurant, I would say hot, hotter, hottest. So you want it, you take from there, but don't damage this fellow. And I'll come back to, so take an auntie from East Midlands, thick center of UK, and take auntie from Coimbatore, 20, 30 years ago, okay? Now think how they'll cook food. That lady, poor thing, I'm talking about 1500, not even 50 years, 1500 or 1600. So she will then take chicken or whatever else she gets there. And how to eat it? So when you talk about it, the first element of taste is cooking. And cooking is not going to make it tasty, but it's tastier than not cooking. Correct? 2, salt. You put salt, with salt better than not without salt. Second element of taste. Third element comes, which is the spices and the herbs. So flavors, like you said, right? Flavors. Okay. Now, that lady, what she's got for flavor? Some rosemary, parsley. Like for us, we have so many kires, this is 10 more kires, that's all. So it's not fun for us. What does the auntie in Coimbatore have? One hand she puts chili, peppers, haldi, faldi, everything comes. And left hand ready, she puts, coriander, parsley, palak, this, anything she wants. And dishum, she throws it in. Super flavor already there. That lady put one. Huh? After that, what? Nothing. So then we sent pepper. So Vasco came, gave pepper. What cost us $100 here, 500 rupees, cost 3,000 rupees there. So that is the reason why they do this. Coimbatore auntie, dishum. Right? So they're used to it. Now come the next stage. What is the next level? So this is how we had tastier food. So now if we go and import that food and it comes to India, are we going to be happy? Boss, I am the king already and you're giving me crap stuff. This is what's happening with international food coming to India. Noodles, you see, I was telling you about pizza also, that pizza with, pineapple and all, you slap the guy, if he gives it to you. Hawaiian pizza, what the hell? Come on, boss, I will convert your pizza into naan and makhni and give it to you. Correct? And I'll not forget the kalonji, onion seed in the pizza dough. That's all, you win. Because when it goes in your mouth, the bells will start ringing. You call it pizza, but inside it's naan and makhni. Okay? You see that everywhere. That's what's going to happen because you can teach us everything. You cannot teach us what is taste. We are the kings of taste. Now, if we take this knowledge and take it out, why won't we win? Which foreigner who you have not blasted with spice, with heat, has not liked Indian food? And now even you give him heat, the guy will eat it. Of course, next 3 days, the guy's got a problem. For that also, we have a recipe, because I'm a hotel guy. So we'll tell him, have burnt toast, have curd rice with jeera, roasted jeera. We'll give him, of course. And maybe some, chas kind of stuff. And tea with lemon. And in 2 days, he'll be disposing blocks, basically. You don't have to worry. Huh? So now coming back, so now talk about taste. So we come now to this level. Now let me go to cuisine. So all these are fancy words, but I am like a hardcore fellow living in this life for so long. I can just break it down for you. So cuisine is essentially then the souring and sweetening agents. So you have salt, you have spices and herbs, and then you have souring and sweetening. So there, what is the souring? Vinegar, or a little bit lemon juice. If you go to Mediterranean, they have lemon. Here, what do we have? Forget tamarind. Boss, come on, lagao. We have kokum, amla, tomato, amchur. So raw mango. Ripe mango also we eat, raw mango also we eat for sourness. So that gives us the balance. So that's a souring. Sweetening. Anga sugar, because these fellows took all Indians, grew sugarcane everywhere in the world, gave sugar, and they use sugar. But we use different forms of sugar, and fructose, and glucose, right? Jaggery, honey, dates. So, and fresh fruit. Ripe fruit. So we have so many combinations. So when we use all of this without anything overpowering something else, how can you beat our cuisine? And then The auntie in Coimbatore makes it different from the auntie in Dodbalapur. Correct? And then you go to Punjab's boss is from another planet only, but using the same raw materials. So that's why they say every 50 kilometers, cuisine changes. So we have to understand all of this. And what am I telling you is, look at the strength of Indian taste, which is not at all exploited. Now, second, let me flip. So now I'm still in Europe with that auntie there in East Midland. Now she's feeding a person. Now, man, you just put pepper and one sprig of rosemary. How do I convince my kid to eat it? So then I'll say, okay, I'll put it center of the plate. 12 o'clock, I'll put one garnish. Right side, 3 o'clock, I'll put starch, potato, baked potato, mashed potato, something. Left side, I'll put vegetables because I need the micronutrients and all of that. So then I make it look beautiful, give him fork, knife, say, macha, eat. Right? Now, that's what he's got. Because the food tastes so pathetic, he cannot even eat it. So you have to make it look good. Now, what about India? Look at number thali with the banana leaf, right? You just put whatever you want. It looks good in the beginning because it falls in one place because of the katori. But in 2 minutes, what happened? There was war zone. Fellow eating from here, there, everywhere. But is he suffering? He is smiling. He loves this food. He doesn't care what you feel. I am happy. Now that they say that Johnny from England has got promoted MBA, Oxford University, has come back to India to visit to move business. And this fellow goes and takes him, I must treat you, sir, Indian food. And he does what he's doing. What will happen to that guy? He'll have a shock. Because there's no fork, knife, nothing. Sapad is there, you eat. If you can't get it with your hand from there to your mouth, you're gone. I'm not going to give you fork and knife and a banana leaf, boss. Okay, so there's a problem there. But he's important to you. Because that clown has to determine whether he buys your stuff or not, right? So what I'm saying is, this is where I'm saying we have to think. So we have to apply our mind. So what happened? So a lot of my friends are chefs from Oberoi hotels. They all migrated and worked for multiple restaurants, and in the 90s, they started making their own restaurants. So very good guy, that guy called Atul Kochar. He's 2 years junior to me. He runs 5 of the best Indian restaurants in London called Benares and Hajar other names. Then there's another guy called Vinit Bhatia who runs Rasoi. He got knighted by the Queen, okay, recently before she copped it. And he was on the Queen Elizabeth II, doing Indian food shows and stuff like that. What did he do? He understood this drama. So what he did was, boss, my food is great and I eat it, but you don't know what to do. So I will put it on that 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, this, that. But each of those things will hit you for a 6. It's that good. But I give you fork and knife in a plate. Be happy. Now you cannot beat that food. So now you see what happened in Britain. The national dish is chicken tikka makhni. Butter chicken. You know, the ration for the armed forces, is chicken tikka. And one more dish they call balti chicken, which doesn't exist in India, right? Now this balti chicken, another story I think, is Bangladeshi fellows went there and they started restaurants. But they're going to put Bangladeshi restaurants, everybody will run for their life. They put Indian restaurant, okay? Now the guy is using mustard oil, this, that. He must have made bulk in a balti and taken it and called it balti chicken. There's no dish like that in existing. You just check about anywhere in the system. But that became the Britishers, for those fellows, this is the main dish. It has come on the rations of the British Army. All I'm trying to say to you is, we have a cultural, the civilization strength, even in food, to win. But we have to adapt it to what they're used to. Don't give just cut that spice. If they say 2 spoons of pepper, use 1/4 spoon of pepper. But give him extra pepper, right? If somebody wants tastier. So once you do this, the rest of the goodness is there, no? Sourness, sweetness. You have a question? No, okay. So I'm just saying, so basically the combinations, and this is like the yin-yang. That's why they say China and India, a lot of similarities, okay? Because very old civilizations who have known, we've seen up, we've seen down, we've seen up, we've seen down. The US or Western, maybe 500 years, 100 years, 300 years. So if something goes down, they'll start panicking. Indian guys are rocking out there, no? I mean, that's it, Shah Rukh Khan style, we just go forward and then we keep winning. Because, okay, tomorrow it's going to be better. So we have a lot of these strengths in mentors. Why do you think Indians are becoming superstar CEOs everywhere, women and men? Because we know how to handle uncertainty. I can tell you my American experience. They thought I was a freak who's going to destroy the company because of the cultural understanding. Indians, we can throw 6 balls in the air. 1 ball is here, a second ball. We are not at all we'll go and take a break also and come back and we'll be happy to pick it up from there. Those fellows will take 1 ball, keep on throwing, dot the I's, cross the T's. Rest of the game is gone, but they're still on this. But that's what they had. It was a slow moving thing. We guys are very easy to, we have the capabilities to handle complexity. That's our strength, okay? So I'm just trying to tell you all of this, that's the legacy you folks have. This is the strength of India. It's very easy for us to get cynical and lose out. And food is not an easy business because of perishability and so on. So now let me come back to the story of sausages. So that's why in 1920, when Griffith started making sausages, we were supplying the sausage seasoning, which sage was the main ingredient, mainly because of antioxidant properties. In those days, you did not have refrigeration. So basically to extend the shelf life, because then winter was coming, so cooling helps. There are a lot of cases of people storing stuff, under the snow and this and that. That's because the main thing to remember is 8 degrees to 40 degrees is the challenge. That's like our body is 37. So everything happens here. Growth, microbial growth, body digestion, blood flow, everything happens 8 to 40 degrees. Blooming, ripening, everything. Because that's enzyme activity, hormone activity, whatever, all of that comes in this temperature. The minute you take it below 8 or above 40, you can remove all the problems. But then you have to consume it, especially when it goes 40, because again, it's going to go back from 40 to 8. So there's a chance of further spoilage. That's why, you put your rasam back in the fridge. Because you take it, fridge is 2 to 5 degrees Celsius. So keep it cool till you want to reheat and eat. Same way you cook it, you take out all the microbes. So now comes to the other thing about chaat. There's always a story which I want to tell you. Is, all of us love chaat, correct? Whether it's bel puri, pani puri, all that stuff, dahi, batata, yevo. So what is the problem there? That the pani puri, the guy is giving you mineral water. So you love that, you go to that guy, and then you have with mineral water and you say, nothing is going to happen, next day problem. Why? Because, sorry? Yes, microbial activity because of water activity. So if all your teachers would have taught you, right? If you have water activity, there is a problem on spoilage. So now you have that the same guy was using mineral water. Next to him, you didn't see that MDH, masaledar spices. Dhania, all different colors, right? He's got. So what does he do? He makes all of this, gives you mineral water, and then finally he takes that swaha, swaha, swaha. Now, how many times you use that box to do swaha? Maybe 4 weeks. So you take a TPC, as you call, right? Total plate count of that. We always say below 10,000. This must be a couple of million. So even if you escape one, the other one's going to hit you. So that's the reason why if you want, take your own spices. But if you want to survive a street and not get sick, it's the spice. Anyway, so now let me come back. So I'm just trying to get you guys to think in a very different way as to how this whole food business comes. And on the sustainable side, no discussion. I think there are enough and more experts who've talked about sustainable sourcing. So when I moved to Griffith, one of our biggest challenges was we used to sell to the biggest food brands in the world. Pepsi, the best food, the food QSR chains and so on. And we were liable for any mistake in the supply chain before that. Now, we did not know what came into our raw material warehouse and how we processed, we knew. Before that, we did not know. And we know what the guys do in India. So today, for example, I know I always, but I have to give you an example. So dhania powder. You buy dhania powder in India, challenge, 10 to 15%, if not 20, depending on how greedy the trader is camel dung. That's what you're eating. So please Buno, right? Because it takes the microbes away. Same way if you go to chili powder. It has sawdust, it has color, it has all of that. And all these things, what do? They first hit your kidney or they hit your liver. But they are our protectors. But there's too much of load of this kind of lead and arsenic and all kinds of nonsense going in. They're not made for that. So you keep on doing that, and the doctors make money. That's why I was joking about talent, that everybody wants to become a doctor, But if they actually become a food expert, there's no need for doctor, right? Because the concept of food is medicine. It's what you take in. But luckily, thanks to COVID and so many other things, now all of us understand what goes in affects us. And you folks look at all of us with one hand, one leg, one eye and say, boss, I don't want to be like that. Because I'm going to live beyond 70. And I don't want to suffer like that. So then what do I do today to make sure I don't become that? Or if I do, I want to be at 80 or 90. You delay the agony. We didn't have time to think about it because we didn't know about it. And before, even if we knew about it, we had to worry about tomorrow, forget about when I'm 70. So there are different times, different challenges. So once you have sensitivity for all of this, you understand, okay? So then when I moved to Griffith because of this problem, and then I went to this beautiful guy called Michael Porter. All of you might have heard, in management students, you'll hear about Michael Porter and something called the 5 forces theory of strategy, okay? But he's a very, very virile man in terms of ideas. And in 2011, when I actually went and did my AMP, he was talking about something called shared value enterprise. What he says is society's needs are not best served only by NGOs or by governments, but actually by businesses to make it sustainable. What did he mean? He says, see, governments, their job is to take care of society's needs. But there's two problems. One is accountability, not just in India, but anywhere. Two is graft, corruption. So there are inefficiencies in that system. Second, if you look at NGO, unfortunately, after 1 year, straight begging bowl only. You're always waiting for money. So you can't be affected. So then businesses, if we integrate this process of society's needs being served by integrating it into our purchasing plan. So tell the purchase manager, because whatever you're buying, now you start asking new questions. What are you doing to help your community? How are you helping your employees? You need to ask these questions. All part of the sustainability, take care of people, ESG in social, employee taking care is coming under S of ESG. And now it's being measured, right? All these questions, if you ask, first, of course, that supplier says, sir, why are you asking from a personal level? I'm ready giving you what you ask me. Be happy. You want discount, I'll give you. So you have to, it's a mindset change. But once you say, listen, all things being equal, I'm going to have three suppliers, okay? You need to go? Yeah, please. So you need to have, let's say, 3 suppliers, 70, 20, 10. So the best guy will get a 70% volume of business, next 20, next 10. So what then happens is that if the person has to have a higher score, shall I continue or should I wait for them? Okay. So if you want a higher score, next year you come back, the guy with 20 and 10 business, with more stuff that you've done. So when you start doing this more and more, you as a company are influencing through your purchasing activities more and more society benefit. Okay, it's not going to be huge, but if every company does this, it's the most sustainable way. But I'm in one city, I can do around me, but what about, in maybe 10 or 15 other states? This is the way we do it, through your vendors. And actually speaking, it's a beautiful way to also upgrade your purchase department. But otherwise, purchasing is always seen as Mr. 10%, unfortunately, in India, right? Generalization, he's making money doing that. But now you make him accountable, good people will also go into that role. So all I'm trying to tell you is it's about how do you link all of this stuff together. So while I was going through this, and I got influenced by him, I came back and said, let me start my own shared value program. And that's how we started backward integration for what I call sustainable sourcing. So we started a division in Griffith called Griffith Sustainably Sourced. So where we control the growing, because of my earlier experience, do the entire value chain including processing, then we buy. And make sure the farmer gets more. The processor who we have set up, we control everything. 60% is cost plus our volume, so he's going to make money, he's not going to lose money. And 40% he mints money, because his standards are number 1 for the raw material. And then we do the whole steam sterilization, all of that. And then on the farms, we used to put our agri-graduates on bikes. So every day they'll see what is the loading on the farm in terms of inputs, in terms of labor, in terms of... So we had unit economics of each acre being grown. So it's all possible. It's all there in us. We have to just think that, hey, I need to do something, and this is my end goal. How do I fix it? And you'll keep improving. That's the greatness of the human mind. You find solutions. So we started doing that, started with chili, and you saw it in the film there. So we went and did in Albania for sage, because 800 acres. And there again is a funny story. So nobody in Griffith for 80 years has been to Albania, and we buy 1,200 tons of sage every year. So I was the first guy to land up there. And then I found out how this whole supply chain works. It's the old ladies used to walk up in May, June, harvest on the mountain slopes, because if you go to that part, it's called the Dalmatian Mountains. So Dalmatian sage is #1 in the world. So these folks used to climb up, and then along with them, of course, there are goats and all of those guys living there. So there's always goat residue, all of that stuff. And that was the source of our sage. And then it comes down, somebody processes it, and then it's very hard because it's a very hardy crop. And then if you don't process it properly, then it goes in your mouth, it cuts your palate. I think that's a food safety problem. So there was a chaos. And now the young ladies don't want to climb. Obviously, they're all educated. They're going to work somewhere. Who there's going to climb and get sage for you? So then we had a supply chain problem. Thank God I went there. So now I said, okay, how do I get the same Dalmatian sage? I said, okay, let me grow it in the valley. So we adopted a village called Koplik, 200 farmers. We told them, boss, 800 acres, you produce, you'll buy. So we were buying for 5 years, 800 tons of our 1,200 tons directly. Rainforest Alliance certified, Global Gap certified. So what is Rainforest Alliance certification? Now it's combined with something called UTZ, which is about sustainable growing, like good agricultural practices. But you're not only on food safety, but it's about environment. So basically, like how I think it was mentioned earlier, you leave the farm the same way it was before you planted your seeds. So you're not caused any negative effect, right? So that's sustainable farming. Now we are moving that to something called regenerative farming, which again we heard a lot about and everybody knows about it. That's the right way for the future. Organic farming, I think good answer was given to you earlier, which is maybe in some crops, but not blanket. And honestly speaking, regenerative farming is also in a way good for the environment. Organic was chosen for environment, but it can't solve all the problems, so sustainable. So instead of using pesticides, you use, biopesticides when you have to, but even before that, there's a concept called integrated pest management. So you do border crops. Let's say in Chile, we put a border crop around the land we put marigold. So what happened, the pest is attacking, coming to the chili, he sees marigold is more excited, he goes down to marigold. He leaves chili alone. That is one. Second is, the circle of life has to be understood. Every life form has a natural predator, including pests. So you bring in the natural predator, as long as that predator does not like chili, you're okay. So when this fellow comes, that guy will eat it. But your chili is safe. Then you do what is called glue boards. So glue boards is at night when all these hordes of pests are going. You don't just spray because you see one, right? So there's a mechanism there that so many insects per square inch on the glue board, if you see, then you spray. And then when you spray, try to use biopesticide, right? And then there's something called pheromone traps. So for example, a big pumpkin, make a hole and put the male pheromone hormone inside that pumpkin. So the insects, you won't believe it. Some of them live for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 1 week, that's all. But they create chaos and leave. So we don't want that chaos, because unfortunately when it comes, my chili gets whacked. So you put this pheromone trap, the female is obviously looking to propagate. So she goes and finds the male because of pheromone. So she goes into the pumpkin. Unfortunately, she passes away there. The insect's gone. So that's what is the trap. So the female, so if you kill the female, then there's no worry, because no more pests are going to be grown. Okay, it's brutal, but this is unfortunately life. Otherwise, I lose the chili. So, circle of life, the woman gets whacked, unfortunately. Huh? But that's because some of your strengths are the ones causing the problems for us in the farm. But yeah, no, but it's your time for the future. Don't worry, your future is bright. Huh? Yes.
They grow the border of Sysabania grandiflora,
Yeah.
which we call it as the Agati.
Okay.
They grow it around.
That's it. No, so that means the pest goes to that and then the banana is safe. Exactly, the same concept. That's called integrated pest management. And so when we were doing work in Africa, They have a funny name for this. So the insect in Africa, the word is dudu. Dudu means insect. I don't know which language, Swahili, this, that. So they call this dudu technology. How to kill the insects, by using this kind of thing. So there are so many mechanisms available from different parts one can use to ensure that our products are safe. So all I'm trying to say is, so when sustainability is, in my definition, it's about living in balance and harmony, if you ask me, the definition of sustainability. And if you can make sure it's enduring. Living in balance and harmony, which is enduring, is my definition of sustainability, because that's exactly what it is. And if you say that 4,000 years ago people invented sustainability, that's the word we're using now. But what are they saying? You live in balance with nature. So basically feed your need but not your greed, which is where the problem is today. Okay? So we have to manage this whole profit monster. And I always say that profit is not a bad word, because if you look at capital, capitalism is the most efficient way to work. The problem is on the equitable distribution of those profits. So you have to make sure the right people get it. And as long as you do that and you're fair, dharmic principles, that's what I always say. If you're fair, you're always right. People may not emotionally like it, but later when they think with a calm mind, they say what that person said was right. That's dharma, basically, right? So again, I'm saying, so when you look at so it's not so difficult for us to be sustainable. We just have to be cognizant where we need to look behind once more. What are we leaving behind? Can I make it better? Did I need to do this? Was it excessive? Hammer to kill an ant kind of stuff, right? And if you can't, then it's fine. Then say, okay, how do I then do? Okay, waste to wealth, all that circular economy stuff, right? Yeah, so there's a lot of things. And on sustainability, we'll work together. There's a whole stuff I do, which is called Sustainability Solutions as a Service. New definition of SaaS. I thank my friends in software, and I use it now in sustainability. So we work for the Chief Sustainability Officer of companies. And normally all that person does is bhashan, no action, because there's no dabu. Because capital is going to go for revenue. Who the hell is going to give him, boss, I want to put composting this later, tomorrow, next year. So then, but the problem is there. He needs to fix it. So what we said is, we will come, you do bhashan, we do action. We do our OPEX. We're already taking care of the food of your people. We're doing horticulture services. We'll do this also. We'll take the twigs, make composting, make briquettes, make pellets, run biogas, 20% goes into your coal-fired, as per law. There's so many things one can do to really bring sustainability into an organization, run their solar farms, run their wind farms, do all other things, including biogas, to manage that. So anyway, I don't want to go far. So I'm just trying to come back and say, listen, so if we are in the food processing and how to make that sustainable at the processing level, there's a limited things that you can do with renewable. And just so that you know, in 2012, when I opened our factory in Durbalapur, we were the first Indian company to have LEED certification gold in a food factory. Because we used solar, we did everything planned for sustainability. This is 2012, okay? So it is not even a fad like it is now. But we said that's the right thing to do, because we are anyway on sustainable sourcing, we need to go this way. So each and every one of you can be successful and be the best version of your sustainable self. Make an attempt to get there. If not today, go tomorrow. But I would say that as we keep understanding this value chain, make sure that you ask the questions. That's half the job done. Then the whole sustainability value chain. And then when you offer this to your consumer, then whether you use your packaging, which is sustainable or biodegradable, all of those things come in line so that we can actually come up with the right way of promoting sustainable value chain from farm to plate. You can influence behind you, provide ahead of you, depending on which part of the value chain you're working, okay? You cannot control what's ahead of you because you have to depend on them as a customer, but you can definitely control where you are a customer. Try to be a better human being for that. So be good to the earth and good to the human being. So one last story, I'll end with this because I can go on and on, is on organic farming, okay? So we always say, hey, organic, man, is the way to go and so on. So I told you about Swaha Organic. That is happening in India. 1 ton, 40 tons, avdi, yeah? So we so the honesty has to come back. You have to have integrity. So there has to be a system to measure, which is, so blockchain and all you can do, but I can't do blockchain for rice. You can't afford to pay for the rice. What you're going to afford for the blockchain technology? I can give it for saffron because there's enough money in that value chain, okay? So we have to be smart about when we use what. But I can use digital, I can use QR code, I can use hologram, with digital traceability. That's good enough. So you have to use technology to make sure that you ensure this kind of stuff, right? So coming to organic, I'll end with this. Again, famous 4 young women, let's say in a Western capital city, go to have lunch together. They're all worried about their figure, health, wealth, all of that. So maintain health is wealth, right? So then you go and say, I'll have Caesar salad. So I'll keep the chicken out, vegetarian Caesar salad, okay? So now what is vegetarian Caesar salad? So 4 of them eat Caesar salad, organic, pay the premium, all of that. And then the next day, big problem. 2 of them get admitted to a hospital. Second day, one person dies. So what's the moral of the story? What's the good news? That the salads were organic. So this is why I say it, because you'll always remember. Why? Yes, the lettuce was grown in an organic manner. It so happened that 3 of the 10 cows whose dung we used for organic manure, 3 of them had Staphylococcus, E. coli, and Salmonella. Okay? So then it came, and then the dude in the kitchen was pissed off with something happened at home or whatever else. He said, I'm not going to clean too much time. Thoda sa superficial karke. He sent and as you know, lettuce is all of that stuff. So there's a problem if you don't, and you're eating it, you're not no buno. You're eating fresh. So there's nothing to save you. This went out. So what I'm saying is food safety plays a paramount role for organic to succeed. But then now that we have regenerative farming, as well as we have the whole ability to do sustainable farming, that is good enough for today's world, if you ask me, because you're still taking care of all the folks that you need to take care of and still have high ESG scores. So with that, I'm going to stop because, we've come a long way. So, I mean, if anybody has questions, it's a good time to ask. I don't know if I've gone beyond time and so on, but all I want to say is I'm always available to you as a group, and anytime anybody has queries or anything, I can come back and, spend time with you. I'm more than happy. Give me enough notice. I'll be happy to be here to support you. Okay? Thanks.
Sir, I want to add spices. You mentioned a lot about. We had because after food we have some fights. It is a traditional habit. We are thinking mouth freshener. Yes, sir, aniseeds. We had done one PhD on aniseed, medicinal property. See, unknowingly we are using as a traditional habit. So many things are like that. Reverse pharmacology, we apply and get to know what is the reasoning. It has amylase inhibitors. It has angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. Aniseeds I am talking about. It has radical scavengers, anti-inflammatory. So wonderful results we have got. So the reason that is a habit for us to consume aniseeds, lot of scientific, yes.
The same thing you want to add to the PhD, study the Mediterranean. In the Mediterranean you have something called ouzo. Ouzo is from Greece, made from aniseed. So aniseed and sugar, they should always have it as a digestive. Same thing, you go to France, it's called Pernod. You go to Spain, it's called Ohen. You go to Turkey, it's called Raki. All of them are from aniseed. So aniseed and sugar for generations has been digestive medicine.
Yeah, it is antioxidant, anti-diabetic, and anti-hypertensive.
So all of us can keep more strong.
Yes, but not sugar-coated. In restaurants, they give it sugar-coated. We can avoid that and have aniseeds as such.
Yeah.
So,
I'd love to see that report.
yes, sir, we published also as a book.
thank you, sir, for a very inspiring and wholesome speech that you've given to us. I'm not left with any words to express the kind of exposure that we have got today. You have given us the culinary insight and coupled it with putting the zeal of innovation in our minds. So before we go into further questions, I would just like to ask, very recently I heard about the government giving entitlement to women farmers, and which can pave way for a better sustainable family. So if a woman is having a land holding and needs some kind of hand holding towards this circular economy, what would be your remarks for that?
So actually, check. Yeah, so actually what we are actually doing is there's a better way to do this, because there are a lot of activities on the farm depending on the crop. Some crops are suitable for women without the real physical labor that is required. However, a lot of the other crops over big distances, when you want to scale up, right, you need to have, actually the man-woman combination works well. So the way we work it is, when we do contract farming, we create what the FPO, which all of us know, farmer produce organizations, with a group of men who are going to be running the show. But there's another concept which you must also be aware called SHG, self-help groups, which is for women. So I would recommend, so what we do in our farms is always the farmer produce organizations, the men do all the grunt work. Post-harvest, immediately after harvesting, it has to come to the SHG. And then what we do is we empower the SHG. So SHG will do the BRC standard, this, that, we train them. They will process the first stage of processing before coming to our factory. So that is only done by women. And how we handle it is, we give so we can actually buy the crop as a company directly from the FPO, but we will buy it through the SHG. So if you give the money to the SHG to procure, we empower them on our behalf to be the buyer. What then happens is, there's a simple rule. You take care of a man, he takes care of himself. You will take care of a woman, she takes care of family. We want to support the second, correct? Because families are the future. So that's, whether it's right or wrong, that's the way life is. Especially the rest of the world will take a little bit longer to reach possibly some of the other advanced areas of where we are, in cities and so on. So this way what happens is you create an ecosystem where the woman's got a place, she controls and they're very, very good at post-harvest, if you're able to train them. Get all the technology for automation so that can be done, BRC standard, and then we buy the product from her. So the FPO gets money from the government. The SHG gets money from the government. You're creating women entrepreneurs. We guide them to be successful. That I would say, and then more women can get involved. But I agree with you that if there's an additional benefit, we can pick certain easy crops, smaller land holdings, and create an FPO of women. And then again, SHG of women, so more women get employed. The minute you bring women into the work system, your problems are solved everywhere, whether at work or beyond. And that's something which is very important that we have to encourage. And regardless of what other people do, we in Tier 1 will only do this. Okay?
Saram sir, I have a very basic question. Like it's a very inspiring talk. So we, as food science research scholars or students, we develop processed foods to help the shelf stability. But as you see, the processed food are mostly has this Western touch. For example, the products that I make itself has a Western touch. So when we think of Indian foods, it's always cooked meals that we have to eat it hot and freshly made food. So except for the hotel, how do you think a food science student can go into a food and business to promote Indian foods? Because I usually, like when we saw, this is a question that we get, how do you satisfy an Indian palate? Because we satisfy Western palate. Mine has, we don't use sugar, but we use jaggery, but still it's not an Indian palate. It's a Western touch. So how do we satisfy that for a processed food?
So, the question I was going to ask is, who's your target market? So now you said it's the Indian. So you have, and I also told her the whole story that Indians are already kings, so you cannot give me Western and make me happy. So so the way to do that, and that's why I always say, it's the importance of culinary. The advantage of a chef or somebody who's learned culinary science is they know how to make the product taste good as well as be enticing to the consumer. And then if you have already taken care of the science of it and the goodness of it and all of that, that combination, because health and taste normally don't go together. So scientific, and the chef is creative. And my job was the toughest job, to bring creative and scientific people problem. Because they cannot, there'll be sparks flying, right? So but that combination is going to make the win. So for you to know, you need, and this is another suggestion I'd make to you, Srijaya, is have a strong culinary focus also in your food science, if you don't
It is
already have.
there, sir.
Okay. So
We have
that's
a
the
culinary
person.
friend.
So that culinary, whoever is handling, they should be helping you to create products for the consumer. And if that person is not fully, let's say, experienced, we can always get external people depending on who. If your target market is South India or.
But sir,
Yeah.
for
But she doesn't seem to be happy.
no, sir, not about that.
No, why millet chef will not touch over? Then?
It doesn't have the versatility.
No. So I'm saying there are enough experts, okay? So and if you need help, you talk to me, no? I'll get you.
It's gluten-free, no, sir, so it is very difficult.
Difficult to make it in an Indian palate.
I know texture. So it is a challenge actually, millet-based, but still we are trying.
See, unfortunately.
Some nice things which I ate.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, I cannot immediately give, which I would love to, if I was in Griffith. I have a food innovation center. I said, you come tomorrow and we'll fix it. Unfortunately, I'm not in Griffith. I work with them on sustainability. But I have a bunch of chefs and I'm trying to create a food innovation center. So till then, if you need any help, I can put you under a chef who can guide you.
That is where the line came, sir. We are not chefs.
Yes.
So we are not chefs. We don't understand how the chef understands the food.
That's what I'm saying. So if you don't know it, get help, no?
But we cannot collaborate with the chef to make a a product which is shelf stable.
Why?
Because they don't make a shelf stable product. We
No,
can
but you're
make
there, no, to make it
But
consistent.
it doesn't go in hand in hand, sir. That's the thing.
You
We
come
had
and tell you
tried
how it
this
goes hand in hand.
because
Scientists make it sustainable because you do what this gentleman does so well is chemistry. See, food is chemistry. Only
Yes,
thing
sir.
is you don't use artificial chemical. You have to use natural. Because if you look at sugar, you break it down, he'll be freaking out with CH4, C2H5O6, everything will come. No? Correct? C6H12O6, sugar converted by amylase to starch, 2C2H5O2. Yeah, that's how it is make wine. To make wine, you use sugar, amylase converts it to alcohol. And carbon started the bubbling. The bubbling is your champagne. But nobody connects all of this. This is what it is, right, sir? We'll do champagne together. That's the point to you is consistency has to come from you. So that all happens is you use the GCMC, that's what we use to make sure that, okay, if it tastes good, what is the scientific footprint of this? Then
Molecular level understanding is very essential in this case. Molecular level understanding. What is that it is giving that taste and other things?
no, but I think she's not still content. So I have to solve your problem. So tell me, what is your problem now? So that I will try to fix
because we
it.
had tried using Indian spices in making the same product, and we had tried using the Western method of making it. But the
What are
taste-
you making?
We made
Millet-based
we made
Upma.
millet-based. No, sir. We are talking about shelf stable products.
Oh, sorry, okay. So like a bar or something
Yeah,
like
we
that.
made bars.
Bus,
Yes,
okay.
sir. So when we tried making it with vegetable, to make it more palatable to an Indian, so we tried adding spices, but that didn't blend well at all.
Shall I give you a suggestion?
It's just a cinnamon which would go well. Other than that, nothing
That
would.
is all.
So other than
Don't
that,
work.
Indian
Because
spices
bar
never
is a sweet.
went.
But I'm saying, what millet are you using?
I use small millet, sir.
Which one?
It's a combination of millet.
Okay, what, that's it, nothing else. Why are you going 100%
No, sir,
millet?
we don't use 100% millet. We use nuts
Ah,
and we use peanut butter
okay.
for
It's a blend, sir.
blend. It's a blend.
Does it taste good still?
It tastes good, sir, but not Indian palate. As we told, we need something
But boss,
spicier.
Indians also have Western palate. If you come to Bangalore, where you selling yourself, Anandpur it won't work. Come and sell in Bangalore, it will work. Honestly, man, this what is that yoga bar, this that. Okay?
Actually, that was the control sample for us. For
Is
the
yoga bar successful or not?
Yes, sir, but
Why you are not successful?
we are not talking about success of my product.
Then?
No, we just wanted to know how to make it palatable to it. Now, sir, I told make it in India and sell it in Western.
Yeah.
So instead of, if we want to focus on an Indian culture, like what we learn about
So the issue is scientific minds are not normally creative. Okay? But I'm not saying you, and if you don't have a creative enough chef in the system, we can get one from outside. You discuss it. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying you're going to 100% find.
Now you go backward also.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that the same chef has got the same challenge. He has to look after Indian palate and Western palate if you're looking in a hotel, correct? But nobody is coming out screaming from the hotel. They're happy with the food, so obviously they know how to do it. But the problem is he has to be there. In your case, he does not have to be there. So you have to say that once you make it, you get lost and I will fix it. Then you use consumer groups, test it, then they say why you like it, why you don't like it. Ask those questions, make the adjustments. Okay. But I would say that now this millet here and Modi and doing all that dancing around is helping us. Because everybody is asking what is this millet? So you should create the product and send it out. Because now the marketing is happening by the best guy who can do it for us. Okay. But millet is good. I was very happy that you're combining it. Because you go 100% millet and you're too committed, it's a problem. Because that's a taste. Yeah. Because normally now Ragi Mudde, if I say I'll always walk past it. Because I can't, but you give me that mix with something else, I might.
You didn't eat Kara.
I just walked past. I know I didn't. Another day, I prepare myself and come back. But I'm just saying to you that you can definitely do it. And it's not that chef means only fresh. So in our company, we have around 25 chefs in Griffith. Mexican, Chilean, this, that, everybody. They help the scientists to create products. So they know how to present, they know how to do all of that. Then the scientist then takes that as a snapshot with GCMC, whatever else they have to do. They say, okay, this is the taste profile. HPLC, GC, gas chromatography, to measure the chemical. I know all of this because I have to approve all the payment for my capital, for my lab. A lot of questions you had for the chemistry professor.
Sairam sir, sir had explained in a very detailed fashion about oil extraction and refining. But after what we have studied about oil processing, I gathered that after the refinement of oils, a lot of chemicals and acids that are used in that refinement sometimes retain in the oil. So are there any methods where this can be avoided or minimized at any rate?
The only chemical, see, as I told you, there are two ways of doing the refining. One is the chemical, the other one physical. So physical method, there are no chemicals involved. Only there, while doing bleaching, they add bleaching earth and activated carbon. These are only surface chemistry works. Whatever pigments are, they are absorbed. And they are retained on the carbon and earth mixer. So that is filtered, it is removed. There is no chemical reaction involved there. It's only absorption of pigments over bleaching earth and carbon mixer. Okay. Coming to the alkali treatment to remove the free fatty acids. So it forms a soap. That soap will be removed by centrifugation and some residual soap will be there in the oil. So that has to be washed thoroughly with water. That's where the effluents are generated. Suppose if you want to process 10 tons of oil and you are landing up with 15 to 20 tons of effluents. That's why it is environmentally not acceptable nowadays. Earlier they used to do because there is no challenge, there is no alternative refining methodologies. Now physical refining is 100%, it is well established. That's why people are not slowly going away from chemical refining. Okay, whatever chemicals, only alkali comes, that they will remove by water washing. Because there is a test before it goes to the bleaching. That is called a residual soap estimation in the feed to the bleacher. So that has to be less than 5 ppm. So that 5 ppm soap, again it is absorbed by the bleaching earth and carbon. So it won't go to the next stage. Okay?
Sairam sir, my question is regarding the marketing of a product. in this level, we are actually have so many ideas in, we are actually creating a prototypes in our laboratory also. So my question is, after we go out from this college and we don't have any trace to how to market our product, and since we don't have any connections outside, as sir started their own market and with their own product, can we know about some challenges we are going to face outside after we create a product in this level?
This is like a millet product or just generally a food product? Because then I have to go to the old problem first.
Any business.
Any food product.
Any
Okay.
food.
Yeah, see, so for me, it's all about firstly understanding why you're creating a product, and it has to have a quality which is going to be at a certain standard, correct? So that you're going to do. Now you're going to say, who is my target market? Because you can't sell to everybody, and it's like somebody says, Ludhiana, I'll buy one, Calcutta, I'll buy one, how you will send it? Right? There's a distribution problem, there's a supply chain. So normally what tends to happen is you choose a limited area for your test market. So normally people tend to use Bangalore as a base because it's very cosmopolitan. So it's that all types of people buy from here. So if you see all the first KFC in India, the first Pizza Hut in India, the first 20 other restaurants in India came to Bangalore because it was, unfortunately now it's grown to 12 million. Those days it was 5-6 million. Whereas you go to Bombay or Delhi, it's 20 million, 22 million, right? So I think once you identify the product, then the category of customer you're targeting, then you will get an idea, okay, these are the kinds of people. Now then, what are the different avenues to get communication across to these people? And of course, testing has to be done, so you'll have to use your own personal networks initially to try the products. You want to do this, test it out, give us your feedback. And then you will make some changes, assuming that the feedback is positive and beneficial for you to make a better product. And then you got to make a marketing plan, and nothing comes free, unfortunately. Okay, because everything costs money. There's an element of expenses on digital marketing, all of that later. The other problem is with e-commerce, while it's easier to sell to a deliver to distribution center and get sold, the problem comes is they take an arm and a leg away from US commission, which normally is your profit. Because there's finally a pricing power which you have, which is what the market is ready to pay. So there's so you're just what student are you? You're foods and nutrition, right?
Yes, sir.
So I think you need to spend time with Sumas to, what you do is do a startup. Take one lady from this MBA class. Suma, you have to send one of your people to help her. So when you do a startup, try to get your team full of people who understand business, because the next step is also on finance, to understand the value of money and where is it spent. So combination of, and you're lucky in the same college you have friends on this side, that side, every side. So take one accountant, BCom, take one MBA, 3 or 4 of you on product development, rockstar startup you can do. And I'll be your advisor, don't worry. You tell me what you're going to make, I'll help you, and then, but everybody cannot meet me, right? So then you have to be able to form it yourself, and you have to do it. I can do the best I can to guide you, but net, you need to have a budget, right? You have to spend some money. So whether somebody gives it, friends and family, rent, loan, whatever, and you need to have an understanding when you make that business plan. This is where if you combine what you have in this college, you have all the hallmark of making a good entrepreneurial team, then you go combine. And don't think about, being like the next unicorn and all that. That is long way away. Because sometimes people there look there and trip. You say, I want to be a winner and I want to make more money than I put in. That's your starting point. You have to break even. Then you got to go to the next step. So I'll be more than happy to guide you, but I think you need to have a good team, not just one quality. If you have that combined, you will win. But you should try. Even if you fail, it's okay. But try. So going and working for somebody.
When we are looking for jobs also, if anybody talks about a failed entrepreneurship attempt, I tried, I failed, this is what I did, they'll hire you on the spot. Because that skill is more valuable than just your grade and other things. Okay? So practical skills are valuable. So
Yes.
now you're young, you can dream, you should do these things. Even if you fail, it's okay.
Yeah, after 2 years, look for a job. What's the problem? But you may win also, no? See, I'll tell you what is entrepreneur. See, today also, as big companies, you have 20 departments, this, that. Now the budgets are not there. You are only hiring core. Outsource the rest. Earlier, the chowkidar was my guy. Now he's outsourced. Then the guy in my canteen was my guy. Now it's outsourced. It's not core to my business. And if that guy creates a problem and a strike, my whole company collapses. I don't need him to feed me food, but he's stopping my work. So that's all. That's where capitalism has come in and won, right? So everything is being outsourced. So finally, you're going to be an expert. So my suggestion is that there is one kind of entrepreneurship where you create your own new product or service and attack. Two is to create a range of product or services that other companies want, but they don't want to hire their own people. That becomes the second kind of outsourcing kind of entrepreneurship. So it depends on what you're interested in. The advantage with entrepreneurship is you do what you like to do when now. Yeah, to the extent you want. So I'm saying, and then you go hell for leather. So tomorrow you'll never complain saying, I never tried, or I never got a chance, or you'll keep on quack, quack, quack when you go and work someplace else. You exhausted all those vasanas. If you succeed, continue. If you don't, find an alternative. Because you've got a good degree, you've got a good backing, you've got a good everything else. And the way this college is going, and I think you're getting more organized and people knowing about Sathya Sai institutes. And I'm very clear that as we keep going forward and building, a lot of my middle management and junior management will be from folks from this college and Puttaparthi College. And, because I know that if I have folks from this kind of a background, we will win. But I don't want you to come looking for a job. I want you to try to be entrepreneurs if you can. But if you're a kind of a person saying, no, I don't want to do too much mehnat, I'm happy, steady, this, that, that's your call. There's nothing right or wrong. You need to know yourself first and then go after that. So when you make your product, whatever it is, you know how to contact me, get in touch. But like I said before that, I'll ask you who did you pick up from Suma's class and who did you pick up from the BCom class. You come alone to me, then they'll say, boss, you got me, I can't do so much work for you. Okay? Good luck. Yeah. Patent. Yeah. No, but why do you need to patent? You just say it, no. See, and just because you say it's yours, what is it going to do to you? No, don't get worried. That's all noise. Patent shit. See, food is common, boss. Did our grandmother patent anything? But isn't that even today working? Then what happened? So I think you need to understand what you're doing what for. Just because some clown is doing it, you don't have to do it. How does it help you? So what we used to do, I'll have an answer for you also. So now today, there are secret recipe. That I don't want everybody to know. So today when Griffith, if I want to continue to be in business, if I go and expose everything, then the guy can take the same thing from somewhere else. So we put googlies inside our formulation. So we do what is called a premix. That premix, I won't tell you what's inside, but it's legal. Then the commodity you buy. So that premix, you don't patent it, you don't do all of that. Say you want it, I am the guy. You try to make it, it won't taste the same. So you have to come to me. But I know how to do. That's the way to do. So the premix.
I have a personal experience for this particular question. Once we had a meeting with the Dow Chemicals. So the guys came and we had an interaction, group interaction. Midway, I got a question. Then I asked them, if you got an outstanding observation in your R&D network, what you do? He said, we straight away go for production. Then I said, what about patenting? He said, two things. If it is outstanding, we don't allow the concept to go out in the form of some document. Because there are people who can break the patents. Who are the pick? So if my idea has some futuristic marketing, then I block my idea in the form of a patent. And if my observation is useless, I publish it.
You got the so the net is that because in a patent, you're basically exposing yourself fully. And you're not really captured the market. And then 20 guys are competing with you earlier because of your need to make a patent. Win with your product and spend that money on marketing. Okay?
Sir, any comments on Indian regulations?
In terms of food safety, you're saying? See, for a proper regulatory system to work, There has to be honesty in the system. Okay? So today, if I can, when somebody comes and they find I'm doing a mistake and I give him 10 rupees from here and he's happy, then whether regulation may be world class, but the implementation is not there. You know, the supervision is not there. So what I feel is regulation is a must, but the issue is that, you should not break the rule, because anytime something goes wrong with your product, nobody should be able to point a finger. But can you depend on the regulatory system to ensure that there's fair competition for all? I can say that in India, it's tough. Okay? But the regulations are good. But the implementer may not be honest. We are seeing all of that. Only good news now is when they're doing more digital, more exposure, then we are seeing more and more openness. You know, as public knowledge and social media, all of that can happen. But if you just say that there's a good regulatory law and you think everything is going to work, I told you Swaha organic, it's happening. Who's going to stop it? But you have no other way to find out. If I bite into it, do I know it's organic or not organic? I don't know. So when people... I don't mind helping the farm, but I don't see that the organic is going to make me a winner, especially the productivity is less, you know. So I'm going to say to you, because earlier I didn't have... Yes, so you do regenerative farming. It's not only organic. So you really strengthen the whole ecosystem over time. So that's what I would recommend. Just organic is not going to be.
Terrible pesticides and those things
Yeah. And soil chemistry, you know, this dung, cow dung, this dung is very good. But just by itself is not good enough. Like we talked about nitrogen. He said, no, like you have nitrogen fixation, all of those. Panchagavya and all that. No, you're talking about. Yeah, zero budget, all of that. See, that is right. But I don't think it solves all the problems. So the way I would suggest, okay, because I'm not an expert. All I will say is I'm going to promote regenerative farming. Because I know it's got a more wholesome good and less negative stuff on productivity than organic. What I would suggest is, why don't you get you have botany here, no? Yeah. So why don't you have a combination study between botany and the nutrition group and come up with this concept on organic. I don't know what kind of a project you guys can figure out, where you really test it. So you have so much of land here, you take a kitchen garden kind of a thing, 2 rows you plant, and then leave gap and do 2 rows and do it live here. So then she doesn't have the answer? What's the answer? So I'm just saying, so also try 2 of regenerative farming. Try to get an understanding of regenerative farming. Then you'll actually have live feedback on productivity, because everything else should be the same, correct? Your control, as well as the others. The basic ingredients, inputs should be the same. You will get the answer to a certain extent yourself. But my answer to you, Srijaya, would be that regenerative farming, in my mind, with all that I've seen, is where I would bet my money on. Is there.
Very often when we do experiments, it's in a small thing. We're thinking of a practical scalability.
But I'll give you one example, since you brought this up, which is, got a sustainable benefit, or like when you say holistic farming. So let's say now most farmers are only, like in Haryana, Punjab, everybody's on cereal, rice, wheat or maize, right? These are mainly carbs. Now you look at Andhra farmer who's growing paddy, right? Growing paddy. Sorry? Yeah. So I'm just saying, but he's only growing that. Apart from horticulture, I'll tell you 3, 4 simple things. So now they have no problem having rice. Like my mother used to always say, India is one of the few countries, because she's a nutritionist, and she's talk about thin people having diabetes. Only country in the world. Normally you think it's a fat person's disease, but it's also thin people. And now she says that because rice was easily available, you'll see one Andhra fellow will put like this much mound of rice. Why? Because you have only about 7 grams, no? Protein in rice. So if I'm 60 kilos, so I need 800 grams. If I'm assuming that my protein only coming from rice. But there'll be some dal, shal, hopefully. So let's say 600 grams. How much rice I have to eat? That's what they do. But it has other challenges. So now what I always say is, when you have an FPO which we work with, and let's assume that is a 2 acre but combined with many people, you say half your farm you continue with what you're doing. Other half you plant legumes, horticulture, those kinds of stuff. Then I say that try to diversify the farmer's diet. He is now heavily carb loaded. He has rice, if he has no dabbu, then he'll put chopped onion and chili and life goes on. Some chutney from here, there. That's it, right? That's sad. So what you do is, because he may not be able to afford dal for making sambar or whatever. Yeah. So I say that if we work in FPOs, we will tell the farmer, first try to diversify your crop, including horticulture. 2, help them buy 2 cows, preferably A2 cows. A2 cows, their digestive tract is so beneficial. So what actually comes out as dung is more valuable as a fertilizer, but you have to supplement it with other things. But he also gives milk, these 2 cows. They get incentive. Then help them buy 4-5 chickens, free-range poultry. So they have free-range poultry and you have free-range eggs. And you have A2 milk. And then you can, if he's got more land, he can do, the veggie proteins, different pulses, legumes, chickpea, pigeon pea, all of this. So now he's got a balance, so you added so whole lot of protein into the diet, which they're anyway growing. The surplus, you combine and make a mini dairy and a mini poultry there. There's a value in the future for free-range poultry, as opposed to cage-grown poultry. There's a value for free-range mutta, egg. Then you have A2 milk. Then you have veggie protein. And then you have rice. Nirvana, man. The farmer's diet improves, the kids' lives improve, nutrition will improve. National Institute of Nutrition doesn't have to do any work. Because in one formula, you have solved the problem of that ecosystem. Correct? So it's a question of us. So the problem is literacy. And if we are so literate and we don't do anything with it, it's our fault. No, it's unfair. So we have to share and become the bridge to improve the life of the farmer and his diet. And the rest, and supply for the rest of the world's diet. Okay?
I just had a very simple question with respect to fat and oil. Like, those are told us about plant-free vanaspati. Like, is the plant-free vanaspati actually available in market? If so, like, to what extent it is used in India? Plant-free vanaspati.
Yeah, trans-free vanaspati, now the present regulation is that in vanaspati, their trans fatty acid level should be less than 2%. As I told you earlier, the process of making vanaspati is partial hydrogenation. So that hydrogenation generates the cis double bond into trans double bond. So there is nothing. Partially it is saturated, but some remaining cis form gets converted into trans form. So keeping that in view, a lot of research has gone to reduce the trans fatty acid levels without changing the technology. But they miserably failed, because this basically what you want is for vanaspati application, the melting point of the fat oil should be a bit higher. So 38 to 40 degrees it should be. Normal oils, around 18 to 20 degrees they will have melting temperature. So to that, what they have done is, some fats, they have saturated triglycerides in them, like palm stearin. Palm stearin in the triglyceride, all the triglycerides are filled with saturated fatty acids. That is a fat. So that is present in your palm oil. So if you leave the tristearin in the palm oil, it will have a hazy look. Okay. By removing the stearin, you are getting palmolene. That is a liquid oil which is well accepted by the common man. So what you do with the stearin? So a lot of research has been done, and ultimately they found that using stearin in food chain there are no issues. So that's why the government allowed palm stearin to mix in other oils for making the vanaspati, because there you are not changing any chemical reaction is not happening there. So only thing, interchange of the fatty acids you are doing like transesterification. Once you mix desired oils in a certain proportion along with palm stearin or even coconut oil to that extent, and you have a blend of saturated fat rich material, which upon interesterification you are changing the molecular species in such a way that you get a fat which has the consistency of a vanaspati with a desired melting point. So there is no trans fatty acid generation here. So they are able to meet the required standards like less than 2% trans fatty acid content in the vanaspati. And that's why they slowly stopped doing the partial hydrogenation for making the vanaspati. Okay?
Yes, like is the plant-free vanaspati available in the market?
Yeah, it is available. Whatever vanaspati you are getting, you can test whether trans fatty acids are there or not. Any? Trans fatty acid they have to mention, na? Trans fatty acid content they mention. They put some value there. That should be less than 2%. Which, millets, it is not viable. Commercial viability is not there. Commercial viability is not there. See, as on today, 2 oil blend is allowed in India, isn't it? In that 2 oil, 1 oil should be 20% minimum. The other should be 80%. You can have 30, 30, 70, 60, 40, but it should be minimum 20, 80. Even 2 oil blend is also not giving a proper fatty acid profile as desired by as suggested by the WHO. Okay, still you have to go closer to that proportion. In fact, Chinese, they are working on a blend with 9 oils, including marine origin, fish oils. That Indian population, they don't accept that. No, sir, not that stage. That stage hasn't come. So 9 oil blend they are marketing. In China, it is they are permitted.
Sairam sir, I am from 2nd UG FNS. So it's a basic question. Like in villages, people when they mill their oil in villages, their oil is not as processed as the market oil. So is it healthy and good for them? Like they don't prefer the market oil. They use their own milled oil. So how is it healthy for the people?
See, the basic difference between expelled oils and solvent extracted oils. Expelled oils retain most of the micronutrients without any damage. So that is an added advantage, isn't it? But the only issue is, suppose if you have a 10 kg of groundnut seeds, in principle it contains, let us assume, around 45% oil in it. So 10 kg means 4.5 kg oil it is there in the seed. By doing the expelling, how much oil you are recovering? Instead of 4.5, you are recovering only close to 3 kg. But Indian context, as I told you, we are importing almost 65 to 70% of our domestic requirements through imports. But by doing pressing, what you are doing, you are not able to extract the available oil into the food chain. Okay, it is good. Cold pressed oils, expelled oils are good. But what about the residual oil? What about the available oil which you are not bringing it to the food chain? What you do with that? Again, you have to import excess oil from the other countries.
There is an entrepreneurial opportunity for you. You are able to collect it from some villages.
That's why I told you Ghani operation and screw press operation I told you. When compared with Ghani or whatever bull and other things, these are the regular practice, normal practices in a village. But if you use a screw press thing, the extractability is a bit more. Instead of 4.5 kg, instead of 3 kg, you can extract 3.5 kg out of it. So another 500 grams extra, you are able to recover it, isn't it? But both will give you the same nutritional value, whether it is screw press or gunny press.
So the answer to your question is good. The guy is eating, but he's wasting a lot.
Wasting a lot. Even that waste is going to be your research programs. You can make so many edible grade products out of it. It's a rich source of protein. There is sky is the limit for those products. I'm telling you. You are landing up with only fixed products. There's ample scope is there for that. I will tell you, Newport and తింటుంటాం కదా మనం. Why don't you try that? ఏది ఎవరు నువ్వుల పొడి ఇవన్నీ చేయొచ్చు కదా, నువ్వులతో బోల్డ్ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ చేస్తాం మనం. చేయొచ్చు అన్ని అలాగే అన్ని కేక్స్ తోటి ఎడిబుల్ గ్రేడ్ కేక్స్ ఆల్ యూ కెన్ యూజ్ ఇట్ ఫర్ దోస్ థింగ్స్.
One more.
Sairam sir, mine is a very generalized question. It has been running on my mind like since long, wherein we say organic food is good for health and sustainable products are better more or less compared to the regular processed foods. And then when it comes to the market, since the sustainable processing is costlier and the products in the market are also costly because of the processing, because of the inputs that get into the process during the industrial level, the processing level. How do we hand it to the lower income people, lower middle income people? How will they be able to afford these sustainable products that we develop? Is there any chance that we can considerably reduce the pricing of those products?
No, it's a good question. See, if it's in the rural area, if there are farmers in that group, they can produce part of it which they use for themselves and part can be marketed. That's the only thing I can think of. But at the same time, the world is a capitalistic world. So many things you would like to have but can't afford it. But the way to do that is if we push sustainability and help it go to scale, at some stage the pricing will automatically come down. But we're not there yet. So now we are in that intermediate phase where we're making sustainability and sustainably sourced products popular. And then when it becomes the standard, then the volumes go up and then the price will come down. That's the market economics. But if you want an answer to solve this problem in a few months, it's not going to happen. Some poor people are going to suffer. Yeah. Or, like I said, if there's a rural connect to these folks, there's again an entrepreneurial opportunity for somebody from there. You grow it and make it. Yeah. Yeah.
One more question with regard to the business. Sir, firstly, thank you so much for the very nice session. It was very interesting. Sir, when we talk about business, in the beginning stages of your business, was it smooth or were you scared? How did it ignite in your mind to get into the business?
See, I told you right in the beginning, I'm not a normal guy, okay? So fear is something that never comes in my path, right from my childhood. But I wouldn't say that somebody would not have fear, okay? There's always going to be anxiety or some versions of that. Fear should not be debilitating. It should not help you, it should not prevent you from doing stuff. So my point to you is it easy? It's definitely not easy, okay? But all I'm trying to say is, whether you do your own business or you work for somebody, work as if that company is yours, as a mindset. That's called an intrapreneurial mindset. That's what I've been. I could not afford to start a business earlier, so I worked for somebody, but in fact, in Griffith, I told this guy, Griffith was a 100-year-old business. I said, Griffith India Middle East is my business, my name, my company. Just because it's got your name on it, don't get confused. I told this to my chairman. But that's the way I look at how I work, right? So my suggestion to you is always have an entrepreneurial mindset. You have to do things different because what's brought you here is not going to get you there. Remember that. Things are changing. You have to adapt. Now, whether you do it on your own or otherwise, fear should never come. But channel that fear or anxiety or whatever else is that negative emotion to such a way that you find as many answers as you can or you can get with people around, and then there will always be uncertainty. That's why you say there's always risk. But as long as it's a calculated risk, number one. And two is chances are that you're going to get a black eye and you're ready with first aid for it. Go into it. Don't let it stop you. Because otherwise it's mundane. So it depends on what you need to know yourself well. We can't tell you what to do, right? You know yourself well. My suggestion to you is don't hold back. But be sensible. Try to get as many answers as you can so you have least amount of variables to deal with. So that you're prepared to handle it. And wherever you can imagine, okay, if this goes on, contingency planning we talk about, this is what it is. So if something goes wrong, how do I fix it? Or what do I do next? So plan A, plan B, all of that stuff. So focus your energies on that, but dive in straight. Like I used to always tell people, boss, you can't keep going around a swimming pool and saying it's 4 feet, 8 inches deep. The other guy said, no, it's 5 feet, 2 inches deep. Whatever. You say, boss, it's less than 6 feet, jump. Because you're not going to, nobody has the answer. But it depends on your personality and you know yourself best. Don't do anything which you're, just because somebody's told you, don't do it. Do it because you're comfortable with it, but you're also worried, but you're ready to deal with the consequences. Then you have the confidence, you go. Okay?
Thank
so
you
I see
so
a
much,
future
sir.
entrepreneur in you, right?
Hopefully,
Good.
sir.
All the best. All of you are there, no? How much research you want? Now listen, there's going to be a lot of personality types who are comfortable with risk-free. They will be, no. And let me tell you, just because I'm an entrepreneur does not mean I'm not interested in understanding. I will do research in a different kind of way. I'll do research in what I need for the moment. I'm not going to do research just because I'm, like he said, excited, publish paper and be happy. Finally, he published so many papers, finally he got happy with RBO. Correct, because it was making a difference. Because it's making a difference in people's lives. Research for the sake of research is not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting research to help you make better, do better. There is nothing which is going to be constant. We're always improving. We're always going to find challenges. Like when we started, like he said when we were processing earlier, who the hell cared about effluent? Effluent poured outside, that's it. I don't care where it's going. Now you cannot because somebody's stopping you. Then you adapt. We find solutions. So research, I think, is also, in different forms and shapes. But I think the virile mind that we all have, there will always be thinkers. There will always be people who help. And there's room for everybody, is what I say. So it's not mutually exclusive. Both will happen parallelly. But the key I would say to you, Srija, is when you're doing research, try to align with industry. Because the more the people find your research valuable, the more they'll want help from you, and the more people will have to be coming into research to do. It's like, feeding itself. Yes, symbiotic. Yeah. So I think, there's a case to be built, Suma, is the whole, because I'm such a strong proponent of entrepreneurship because it comes naturally to us. And we have this service mentality for us, right? Atiti Devo Baba, all of that stuff is natural to us. That's the way we've seen our elders, everybody do it, so we also do it. So we are very good at it. I worked in the hotel business. Oberoi hotels can thrash any Four Seasons, Amman, the top hotels in the world. From India. In the 70s, we became winners. Why? Because of training, quality delivery process. Most of the Oberoi guys are now CEOs of BPO companies. Why? Because BPO companies need process. There was nobody to go to. They headhunted from hotels because we are process guys. So my point to you is we have all the qualities, and combining business, luckily you have it here, and any other scientific, so STEM is so big, the whole world is saying no STEM, we are saying only STEM. That combined with business, we can find small businesses. No, every business does not have to be 100 billion, 500 million, whatever, right? It can be small. It can be 10 lakhs or 1 crore per year. Yeah. Because all of these are tools. So a lot of the other grunt work is gone. Now you have to, it's the brain power which is steering the ship. I'm telling you, man, you guys have to be excited about the future. Really. I tell you, I went to drop my son in college. I was hoping I went into that college. Because it was so lovely. We didn't have these opportunities when we were growing up. So the opportunity in learning, the opportunity in where the world is going, and also let me tell you, while Swami's kids are always, one step ahead in terms of the whole compassion, the whole generation, when I look at my kids' generation, they are, so much more caring than we were. Yeah, it's just wonderful. Because they didn't have to worry about survival. So you are actually, that's what you're feeding to. So you know what, and with all your Instagram, this, that, you guys know what the hell is going on. And there are certain things you avoid, what to avoid. At the same time, you know what will work, what are people looking for, and then if you're able to satisfy that need, finally business and whatever you do, product or service, is there somebody who will put money down and buy this? How is it going to help their lives? Is it going to make it better? Is it going to give them more joy? Those are the questions you answer, then make the product and then deliver it to the people who deserve. So you always work that way. Don't make mountains out of, molehills before you even start. You got to start, test it out small, start small, fail quick, hit again, that kind of stuff. Okay, we can keep going, but I think there's another talk after us, so thank you for your time.
We express our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. B.V.S.K. Rao sir and Mr. Shyam Mohan sir for such a scintillating interactive session. Thank you very much for sharing with us your valuable expertise and time. You ensure to engage the audience with your splendid storytelling and humor to convey your message, creating memorable impressions. Thank you. We are truly inspired by your expansive knowledge in the subject matter and profound wisdom. We thank you very much once again. May I now request Dr. Shija Madam to kindly felicitate Mr. Shyam sir. Next, I now have a very pleasant duty to introduce our dear Suma Madam. Dr. U. Suma Rao's journey with Bhagwan began as a student of Bal Vikas program in Mumbai. She went on to pursue her studies at IIIHL, where she received the all-rounder gold medal from the Divine Hands in the year 1990. Dr. Suma is currently serving as Associate Professor and the Dean of Management and Commerce. She joined the Anantapur campus of the Institute as a faculty upon Bhagwan's command in the year 1998. She completed her PhD on the top women executives in India in 2014. Her study explores structure and agency in the areas of work-life balance and gender bias. She is currently also the recipient of Sai Krishna Award given by IIIHL for excellence in teaching. Madam would be talking to us about the initiatives at our institute towards sustainability. We welcome you, Madam.
Saram, my humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet, and I know you have all had a very long day, though you are not showing it on your faces. So I was sitting in the audience and thoroughly enjoying all these talks which we heard today. And I did not know that there's so much to learn, even though that whole chemical part is beyond my ken and knowledge. I totally enjoyed that processing of oil, and I understood so many things which, you have, surprisingly, even though we are educated, you have some biases, unquestioned biases, and especially like on trans fat oil and so many things, I had these fixed opinions, and thank you, sir, you opened the window on that. As far as Shyam, I know him personally, so I know the journey in a different way. And I was just thinking, one of the things, always the M.Tech students would tell the MBA students, तुम लोग का subject क्या है? Common sense. Common sense के लिए degree भी मिलता है. Like, and I was telling them, common sense is very rare, So sometimes you have to give a degree for it. But I'm sure FNS also has this challenge, It ranges from aesthetics to science. It ranges from, when you look at food, you look at texture, and you look at also the chemical compositions of it. And it's very difficult, because it's food, and food is very, very everyday thing. People tend to look down on something which is normalized. But there is so much science in normal, right? In the same thing, we suffer the same problems in management, because again, management is common sense, right? So given this, we have a lot in common, both our subjects and disciplines. But what today I would like to share with all of you, it's a pleasure. You're probably the first student group to listen to this. We have wanted from a long time to start something called a Center of Sustainability in the Institute. And we had to go through a whole rigorous process, where we have the Board of Studies, the Academic Council meetings, and the Board of Management, and budgets, and etc. And so we have just crossed all that, but we still haven't got the, the green certificate of starting. But, and so we haven't yet presented it to anybody, so the FNS students are the most privileged to listen to it for the first time. Okay. So when we started this, as you know, our institute already has two centers. One is of mathematical biology, and the other is actuarial sciences, both of which are highly discipline-based, but have a great market. And so when the sustainability came, the advantage of sustainability is it unites all departments. There is something for everyone in it, and this is holistic. Now, the thing about, if you look at sustainability, again, that's also a very borrowed idea, if I can say so. Swami has spoken about sustainability ages ago. And you can see this here. Swami has said, recognizing the 5 elements as God's gifts and their sanctity must be preserved. They must be made use of in a proper and befitting manner. Swami has said this long ago, and if you read discourses, you will see, suggestions for every subject which Swami gave in terms of sustainability. Now, going further, this is, okay, sorry. Yeah. But if you look at, I'm not going to go into all this, because anyway, I'm sure in all your subjects, you learn these things on sustainability, how it began. But everyone hears of the UN SDGs, I'm sure. All of you would have heard that. And we are going to use that a lot in terms of thing. And, Shyam defined his definition of sustainability. And so it is very curious for us to know, other than the SDGs, what is Swami's definition of sustainability? Or is there a definition which Swami has made regarding sustainability? So putting this in the background, I just put for you the UN definition of sustainability. But in all of the UN and the world's definitions, economic growth, social inclusion, environmental protection come together. And this is good because it brings a holism into business, and it brings a holism into our political and social practices, governance, everything. Okay. Now, going further, you all know that there are these SDG goals, and now I think they are working on culture also as one of the SDG goals. Very soon that will be added to our thing. This is expanding. But interesting to notice, all of Swami's projects, if you check, they already done, fall under some SDG goals. We cover 14 out of 17 Swami is already done. Now the UN people, we had met actually 2-3 people from the UN, and we were asking them if this is true, because we have found this when we did a direct match of every SDG with what Swami's projects are. Now, the UN has a different way of measuring the metric. So while they agreed with this list, they said only 4 fully qualify as a direct match into the SDG. But my idea is, do we need to match the SDG, or does the SDG need to match with us, is a question, right? We have to consider. Now, when I started reading Swami's literature on what he has said, and we picked, this quotation of Swami about Vyashti, Shrishti, Samishti, and Parameshti. Have you heard of that, all of you? So these are the 4 things with Swami components which I spoke, which is directly into sustainability. And we used these keywords and did a real research where we use all our research tools and do content analysis, everything on Swami's 3,000 odd discourses. And we find that Swami is talking about sustainability in a very fundamental, basic manner. He says the 5 elements which make you, which make nature, which make everything are related. The day you fix your attitudes, it fixes nature too. He says that, okay? And in multiple places, he has started many projects which directly help us in refining and improving our environment. Someday, I hope I'll be able to share that whole thing. We are in the process of research over here. One day, we will show you what this holistic definition of Swami means in terms of sustainability, okay? So when we started, this is our preliminary ideas which we have put through, and our vision is to create a healthier, happier, harmonious, as you had said, today and tomorrow. For what? For the individual, for nature, creation, and for society. So that should be our purpose, and this is because Swami's purpose, this is not ours, all is borrowed here, heavy plagiarism. And so this is the idea, and what we wanted the center to do is to do 2 things. Number 1 is to drive research, and we also increase awareness, also improve the projects which are existing. We measure them because a lot of things which Swami has already done, we add the metrics and see where it is. So there's a lot things to do, and we hope that a lot of you will come back and research this. So these are our objectives. I'm not going to bore you with all these details, but basically understand what are the 4 wings and what we plan to do. Our stakeholders are plenty, okay? So we have Prashant Nilayam itself. In fact, we had a meeting with the managing trustee, and he spoke about giving zero net campus and zero net, net zero organization. So we have to work on waste management, water, solar is already done. So all these areas in order to make the ashram our. So this is where you can play a very big part, because we will drive this green movement in the campus. And then we also make it measurable. So we see how we are wasting. And Swami has always told us, don't waste electricity, don't waste energy. You must have heard of this. So all this is already known to you and nothing new for you. Now, after we finish institutions, we should spread the good word. We have to work with villages around us, and of course, we will use industry and academia in the process. You must have heard of this. This is very well-known statistics. Today, we have crossed 9 planetary boundaries as compared to 2009. I'm just giving you the dismal statistics to tell you how bad we are today and how important it is for us to enter into these ideas. Carbon emissions, have a look. Backsliding of SDGs during the COVID pandemic, which has put us back, whatever we aimed to achieve, we have not achieved. And not just that, now it's a global rescue plan we require in order to survive. The survival of the planet is in question today. Now, even EUs and all have updated their carbon credit. And if you look at it from the business point of view, you all know that SEBI has now made business responsibility and sustainable reporting compulsory, especially for the those who have 1,000 cap. And another thing which we'll see, that's for all kinds of companies. And another thing is that the ESG norms are there. So all these things have made it important even for businesses. And that helps you to hire also more people who have this knowledge. This is Anantapur, girls, in terms of what the SDG scores are. And you can see except in gender and life above earth, that is the thing. 2 things where there is green bars, the rest are all red and yellow. Means bad and worse. Yeah, Anantapur district. I mean, that includes Sathya district in the past. This Sathya district separation is very thing. So that's why we had taken that thing. Of course, another thing is learning all these things and practicing it is not useless for you. I mean, even in terms of jobs, it does help because this awareness is now this thing. And very fact that, Shyam was telling you that they have sustainability officers in businesses, which means that it is of concern. And maybe partly it's a knee-jerk reaction to regulation, but let's look positively. Regulation is just baseline. We need to spread awareness and change our habits and lifestyles. That's all. There's no shortcut to it, actually. In fact, one of the UN members who had come to Prashanthi Nilayam, he was saying, actually, what is the problem for you all? You all are already living the sustainable lifestyle. You have vegetarian food, you share spaces, you reduce a lot, you recycle a lot. So actually speaking, there are many good practices we already have, but we need to measure them and further them. That's what we need to do. So basically, we are looking at 4 things: collaborations and multidisciplinary research, which is what I was talking very often to Srijaya that we should look at. So as Shyam said, we will mix the business students with the FNS students, and let's see what magic we produce with that, okay? And then we also look for industry collaborations, which is another thing we are doing. We're making lists and contacts and networking heavily so that we can provide future lines for people and also make it meaningful for either way, for the industry and for academia. Other than that, we are going to do, Swami has started multiple projects, and getting involved in that and furthering it is also one part of our work, so social impact. We will be looking at MOUs so that the collaborations are, made into contracts. So, of course, I'm not going to go into this each thing, but we have a lot of things planned under research and under social impact. And I'm thinking when we start internships for UGs, we hope a lot of you will be interested in sustainability-based internships. So that looks good on your resume, and there's fun learning, and you're doing what Swami wants. It's great, it's a combo, a pack, so we hope you'll do that. And then we will also be doing outreach. Of course, we are already in talk with the multiple universities, and because sustainable cells are there across industry, in academia. So we are actually looking at things, so understand how they do, and also we might have to pick up a few areas into research in the early phase, but because this is multidisciplinary, it will allow us to work in multiple ways. One thing which I'm looking at is that if we get industry contacts and then we look at problems from industry and back source it to our research, then different people can get together and do research, and we can give the best of all worlds to it, okay? So we also are planning that we should have a lot of students who join this to produce awareness, and this is creative. You create podcasts, you create short forms and long forms video and spread the sustainable story. When I saw today's your sustainable newsletter, I was so happy because it's such a lovely creative effort that you FNS have put together, and all your entire things have done with the sustainability thought behind you. So kudos to all of you. Okay. So essentially, our sustainability center has a structure. We have, of course, the university administration, and we have an advisory board, which we are still composing of people, since, as I said, we are not yet finished the processes by which we are an independent or a center in the name of it. And so we will have an advisory board. We have a core team, and core team consists of quite a few people added also. And then we will be having these wings of social impact research and outreach, all being run by different people. And all of them report to communication, so that the communication thing will disseminate. I see this as one great way to unite all departments across the institutions too. So let's learn the knowledge which will set us free, okay? And let's make all our knowledge useful to society, useful to ourselves. And with this prayer, I bring this to a close. Thank you.
Dear Madam, thank you for helping us know and understand the salient features of various initiatives of our institute in line with Bhagwan's mission towards a noble cause. Thank you very much once again, Madam. We are now up for a fascinating session entitled Tech on Table Innovation in Action. To take us through this session, I invite our dear Dr. Tapasya Madam, Assistant Professor, Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences, to take over the dais. May I now invite Dr. Meera Madam to kindly give away a token of love and appreciation to our dear Dr. Suma Madam. Jayram sir.
We will have this session later on. I request Dr. Sumana ma'am to give the concluding remarks for today's session.
Jayram, I just have the pleasant duty to introduce our dear Sumana Madam to all of you. Madam is a dedicated academic who has made significant contribution in shaping students in Food Science and Nutrition Department. With passion for education and research based on the vision of the founder chancellor, she continues to serve from... Just a second. Madam graduated from our institute in the year 1999 with BSc degree in Home Science and Masters in Food Science and Nutrition in 2001. Madam qualified the National Eligibility Test for Lectureship and joined our institute in the year 2001. Madam received the doctoral degree from Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalayam Tirupati for her work on therapeutic potential of agati in the year 2017. Her lectures cover a broad spectrum of topics including food science, food microbiology, food product development and evaluation, dietetics, sport nutrition, and entrepreneurship and marketing. I now invite you to kindly do the concluding remarks, ma'am. Thank you.
Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our founder Chancellor Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected members of today's conference, symposium, teachers, research scholars, and my dear students. In words of Rabindranath Tagore, who had pioneered the cause to preserve the nature and environment many years ahead of this generation, I quote, "The same stream of life that runs through my veins night and day runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy throughout the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. Unquote. The highest education is that which does not merely give us information but makes our life in harmony with all existence. And this is indeed the essence of the symposium entitled A Holistic Approach to Sustainable Food Systems, Integrating Agriculture, Nutrition, and Food Safety. The welcome address of the day was delivered, and it's indeed my pleasure today to share with you all the concluding remarks of the first day of the symposium. The welcome address of the day was delivered by Dr. M. Srijaya, head of the Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences and the convener of the symposium, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Madam set the stage by throwing light upon different aspects in the symposium that are relevant to agriculture, sustainability, sustainable processing and food production development, and creating a link between sustainable systems and healthy living, and one of the most important concerns of the food industry, that is the food waste management. Her talk was then followed by director's address, invocatory note, delivered by our beloved director, Professor N. Srividya, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Anantapur campus, and former head of Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences. Madam has enlightened the august gathering about Mother Earth and the rich culture prevailing in the world, the diverse cuisines of India, and how our food plate is narrowing down to junk food. Madam also has spoken about the government initiatives taken for sustainable food systems. It was then followed by the inaugural address given by our revered Vice Chancellor, Professor B. Raghavendra Prasad, sir. Sir, in his address, spoke about different sustainable development goals of the United Nations and also gave a bird's eye view of the ill effects of consuming the fast food on one's health. Sir also addressed about the rich culture of the country and how in the days ago, long ago, Vedam has given us the need to hold on to the sustainable practices, be it the consuming of the food, the growing of the food, its processing, and its distribution. Sir's inaugural address was then followed by the keynote address delivered by Dr. A. Ashok Kumar, Principal Scientist and Product Placement Lead, Asia, ICRISAT. He spoke to us on transformation of agri-food systems for enhanced food and nutritional security and profitability in dry lands. Sir initiated his lecture by speaking to us about the ICRISAT organization, the place where it is located in Patancheru in India, where we have two different kinds of lands coming together, giving it the feasibility to grow different types of crops, a journey through the ICRISAT through his presentation. Sir also addressed about the different initiatives and developments that are undertaken under ICRISAT, and mentioned to us about millets and Indian women, and closely related this through his inaugural picture of International Millet Year 2022, which was captured at Rome. Sir turned our creative minds through initiatives such as Plantix, a digital tool, a SAM Millet mission, handy tool to measure biofortification of iron, and so on. The session concluded with an intensive series of questions and answers, after which the symposium paused for the high tea. This was then followed by the next lecture given by Dr. P. Raghavendra, sir. Sir is a scientist, C, ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad. Sir spoke to us on sustainable development goals in the perspective of public health nutrition, Indian scenario, and the way forward. It is said that, if you give a man a fish to eat for a day, it will last him for that day. But if you help a man how to fish, it helps him for the entire life. This is the philosophy of nutrition education, which Sir highlighted is the means to carry forward the sustainable development goals anchored with the nutrition. In his talk, Sir highlighted to us that sustainable development goals in the perspective of public health, nutrition, and Indian scenario. Sir enlightened to us about the zero hunger, the good health and well-being approach, and the clean water initiation. Sir also gave a strategic approach for various aspects of combating deficiency diseases and also involving the whole society's approach. Sir pointed out the key area of action, which are social protection and nutrition education. He had given us a resolution and different types of ways of improving the society's well-being, how the National Health and Family Survey gives us a clear indication of where you see one needs to have a delivered approach. Sir told to us about anemia, which can occur also due to the protein deficiencies, and highlighted to us the way we have to have a collaborative move towards combating the deficiencies in our country and making our country more prone to a healthier nation. The session was then concluded with question and answers. This was then followed by a very scintillating talk given by Dr. B.V.S.K. Rao, sir. Dr. B.V.S.K. Rao, Principal Technical Officer, CSIR, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, Hyderabad, spoke to us on sustainable innovations in vegetable oil processing and byproduct valorization. I think all the audience will agree with me. The students, we have a range of students from the undergraduate to postgraduate and the PhD research scholars who are all working together, and Sir could address through his speech the doubts of these undergraduate students as well as cater to the research inquisitiveness of the PhD scholars. And through his journey, Sir has spoke to us about various aspects of the good oils, right? The chemical composition of the oils. Sir addressed about the importance of consuming the good oil, the composition of fats and its effects on health and nutrition. Sir enlightened about the role of vegetable oils in food application, and Sir's journey about the rice bran oil, kept everyone to the edge of their seat, even when the lunch was awaiting them. We wanted to hear Sir's story about the rice bran oil, which made everyone very interesting and also sparked a bit of research in their minds. Sir also told about the paddy and its byproducts. After this session, there was a lunch break, which was followed by talk given by Mr. Shyam Mohan. Mr. Shyam Mohan, founder and chairman, Day1 Network Private Limited, Bangalore, spoke to us on sustainable food processing and product, which was industry oriented. I must say with a great amount of enthusiasm that Sir spoke to us in a very innovative way, keeping all the students in action. Driven by passion and fueled by ingenuity, Mr. Shyam Mohan has transformed challenges and opportunities, leaving an indelible mark on the entrepreneurial landscape. Through your innovative approach to gastronomy and dedication to sourcing the finest ingredients, through the series of life examples that you had faced, Sir set a new standard of excellence in the culinary industry. From farm to table, Mr. Shyam Mohan, Sir, embodied the essence of culinary innovation, creating an unforgettable knowledge experience that celebrates the rich tapestry of flavors and textures. And Sir also initiated a kind of discussion on how to take it over from farm to market, and also gave insights to the students about marketing strategies that can be evolved to make them into successful entrepreneurs. last but not the least, we did have a wonderful question answer session which was chaired by Mr. Shyam Mohan sir and Mr. BVSK Rao sir. That kept our students intrigued about many more ideas and questions in the field of oil research as well as in the field of marketing and culinary science. The first day of symposium ended with the talk given by Professor U. Suma Rao, the leader for Center of Sustainability, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Ma'am spoke to us about Institute's Center of Sustainability, reiterating Swami's words. Ma'am spoke to us about the vision and the mission of our institute and the Center of Sustainability. In conclusion, I would like to add a note. Establishing a sustainable food system is imperative for collective well-being. By prioritizing environmental stewardship, social equity, and economic viability, we can ensure a resilient food system that nourishes both people and the planet for generations to come. Through collaborative effort, innovation, and consumer choice, we can cultivate a future where everyone has access to nutritious food without compromising the health of our planet. I thank you all for your patient listening, and I also wish you all a very good evening, and let us all await for tomorrow's session, the day 2 on the Symposium, a holistic approach to sustainable food systems, integrating agriculture, nutrition, and food safety. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.